Hey everyone, Sawmill Charlie. Well, welcome to another Friday night bee chat. And hey, Todd and Billy Lee, and we've got Clay, and let's see who else. We got Keith, and had a new folk person here, Water Oak Forest Hunting. Welcome. And we got another new folk person here is local distant honey. Okay, good to see you. And then there's Michael, 21st Bees. Michael, you must be down there in Virginia there, hopefully, at the big Virginia conference. Hey, Gary, out there in West Virginia, too. All right. And there's John. And Russell. Well, let me see if I can get the post up so we can, the thing didn't pop up and. All right. All right. And there we go. We got her up. Hey there, Brian. Let's see what we could do here. And it's pinned to the top. Anybody wants to come in, they can come on in. I don't think Bill's going to be popping in anytime soon. He's down there at the Virginia State Bee Conference down in Whitfield, Virginia, along with Mike Barry. And let's see, Michael from 21st Bees is down there trying to sell some frames. Hey, Pete. And John. And here comes Todd in to save me. Well, Todd, I seen you. I watched your video there. You got some pollen coming in, probably from that rain that you gotten.
Yep. Yeah.
And you said your hives are heavy. So is that because of feeding, or is there something coming in?
No, mainly feeding, but there was some on them. I just kind of been spot feeding them right now, so they're about ready. They're about done, but it kind of spooks me with that pollen because they have to put it somewhere, and they're already putting feed somewhere, and I don't want the queen to have a smaller space. So
Right.
I'll wait till it cools down a little more, and then I'll pop them open and look around and put patties on, stuff like that. So
yeah. Hey, Dean. I don't really do any pollen patties in the fall. Of course, you're in a different area. You're not, as wintry as what we are.
yeah,
I don't think you really actually have any winter, but
barely.
barely. But yeah, here it's been, the highs have been in the low 60s. And then all next week, it's going to be either in the high 50s or low 60s throughout. And then it'll be in the maybe in the 40s, maybe low 40s or high 30s at night and stuff like that. So bee flight here lately is, of course, now I didn't get up there to see him, I'll say in the middle of the afternoon, but there was a little bit of bee flight, not much, and all that stuff.
That
Clay there, Clay's got what? He's got a lot of light highs trying to feed him up. Well, Clay, I don't know. My game plan is I start feeding somewheres about the middle of September after Labor Day, and I like to be done by the middle of October, knowing the temperature range, because once it hits around 50, they're not really well, they'll still suck it down at 50, but like say right now, they're not flying or not. I mean, as far as a fall flow for me, there's zero as far as fall flow goes. There might be pollen coming in, but that's about it. And I did take I guess what was it, Thursday night? Yeah, last night I bottled up about 20 pounds of honey for the week, and it's been about 4 weeks, I guess, since I've put any honey in my bottling tank. So I put 100 pounds of honey in it last night, which was two buckets,
Yeah.
a 50-pound, 55-pound bucket and a 45-pound bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And that came out of my hot box, which is a refrigerator with a heat lamp in there. So I'll say I usually keep 3 buckets in that. That's all I can put in there. And I've over the last 2 weeks or so, or the last month, I've basically rotated the honey out of the hot box, put new buckets in, and put everything in the bottling tank. And it's it's as full it's as full as you want it to be full. I always strain my honey when I even goes back into the bottling tank. I restrain it again. Hey, Lynn. And I was right close to the strainer this time.
Yeah.
And I find it, I kind of noticed that when you keep the thing full, I think the honey acts like as a heat sink, which it doesn't, I keep it on all the time. So it's cycling on and off, and it doesn't cycle as much because it holds the heat and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, bees, nut and honey, which is Chris out of Missouri and all. So anyway, that's what I've been doing. I actually forgot this morning, but I got busy. I took those honey buckets out there. I was going to try to wash them. I'm like, let's see whether the bees, maybe tomorrow by noontime,
Uh-huh.
it'll get warm enough that they'll have enough bees to lick those buckets clean for me. That actually helps a lot, as far as the bees
Yeah.
come out of it. I don't waste the honey.
Yep.
And all
Yep.
that stuff. So
Huh.
it's easier cleaning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So did your office get broke into anymore?
No. Well, it was broken into again, right? I
Well,
can't
you said
remember.
it was once, and then you said they might come back again.
And they did. And they
They
did.
did.
Different window this time. So yeah. Um, it's downtown in it's not the worst area, but it's not the best area. So there seems to be some riffraff hanging around, here and there. So it is what it is. But no more this week. It happened Tuesday or Wednesday morning. So it's just a mess. Glass everywhere again. Took a roller bag that you can't put a whole bunch of stuff into except like a laptop and some folders and paperwork and stuff like that. I mean, it's not that big of a value. But then if you go out further into the office, there's laptops on almost every desk, but they didn't take that. It was just kind of a grab and go. So,
Yeah, kind of like Duluth, right? Just
yeah, pretty
exactly
much.
that.
So,
I looked at that and I'm thinking to myself, really? Y'all don't have much of a burglar system over there at all.
oh yeah, that's terrible. That was something else.
But what gets me is what are you going to do with it? Everybody
Well,
knows what it is.
yeah,
When they see something like that, nobody has. That's not a common thing. That's like, it's like the rarity. And I'm like, the guy who was going to want to buy it is like, he's got to be a thief too, and he ain't got no money. It's like,
I'll bet you anything they'll sell it to some private collector, and this guy or gal will have a secret room in their house where they have things on display, and it's only for them to look at.
I guess.
Yeah. Who knows?
I don't quite understand it myself. I mean, well, I mean, it's pretty to look at, and it's from a bygone era, and but to me, it's like, okay, it's nice looking. I'd rather just look at it and then go on,
Yeah. Go away.
and that kind of stuff. But hey, Stone River,
Yeah. It's
and which is
JB.
JB and Regina
Hmm.
from Dinwiddle, Virginia.
I wonder if he went to the conference.
I don't know. JB, did you go to the conference over there, down there in Whitville?
And Clay, I wonder if Clay went to the conference.
I don't think so. Clay, I don't think you said you weren't going or something like that, right, Clay? Too far away?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's all of 2 hours away. Hey, Rick.
What's happening, Paul?
Nope. Yeah, Clay didn't go.
Yeah.
Well, they had a bunch of speakers that I looked at it. I was going to go. And, this weekend, I don't know what it is, but there's always, you'll have those weekends that three things are going at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a lumber show that I thought about going, but we got too busy here at home. And in Floyd, Virginia, I usually go down there on that, or I would be dancing right now. And then go across the mountain over to Ferrum, Virginia, to the Blue Ridge Heritage Festival, which is, I really like it. It's music and all kinds of coon mule jumping contest and horse pulling contest and dogs that herd sheep, with just whistling at them and pointing, and they got the coon races down there, the coon dogs, and they got the barking contest. And how many barks in 15 seconds, I think it is.
A little bit for everybody there.
I don't know, Keith, what the deal is with the names are showing up a lot different for some reason. I'm not sure.
What do you mean?
I'm not. Well, there's a lot. Like there's numbers on the ends of the names for some reason.
In the at symbol, yeah.
And they have the at symbol.
Yeah. I wonder what mine's. Let's see what mine does.
I have no idea. Hey, Joseph. Joey.
Mr. Rawls. Hey, Randy. Oh, I have an at symbol. Huh. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. So, but I would go over there, and they would have it's really a lot to see in one day at that place. It's like they have antique cars and equipment, and then they have animal demonstrations.
Yeah.
They also have in that area. There's a lot of things about like apples and stuff like that. So people have got, I call them sticks. They're roots with a stick with an apple tree, with a plant, stuff like that. And hey, Pastor Larry, and that kind of stuff. And hey, John, and
Pastor Larry, hope you are well.
Yep. So I would go. We've been to that several times, and it was fun. And then there's another musical place on the outside of town at the Flower Garden type of thing. And that was this coming weekend. The Virginia State Beekeepers Conference is this weekend.
Yeah.
What else? Like say that there's a lumber show thing that it's more for cabinetry people.
Oh.
And that kind of. Hey, Dan. And that kind of thing. And that's more of a thing where you go there and they're like, you can buy, if you're a cabinet maker, there's a lot of things like that. You can go to these big cabinet factories and you can say, oh, I want you to build me I'll buy all my doors from it, which is actually cheaper to buy the doors than it is to do it yourself. Yeah. And then you can actually get them to build the whole cabinets. I know some guys would get them to build the cabinets, but they would maybe make the face frames or something like that. And
We don't
Hey,
have any
Paul.
of that around here.
Huh?
We don't have any of that. We don't have mills or anything like that around here.
Well, up in Pennsylvania, there's like 3 major cabinet shops. I mean, they're
Yeah.
not shops, they're factories.
I mean, there might be a private guy here and there, but nothing big.
Yeah. But a lot of guys will say, here's the specs, build it. They pick it up, and then instead of them being cabinet makers, they're cabinet installers.
Yeah.
That's what it amounts to.
Uh,
I keep my, here's a question for us here. Keep my 2 to 1 on if my day temps will be in the high 50s and low 60s over the next 10.
mm,
As long as they're taking it down.
yeah.
Anytime it's beyond 50 degrees, they usually will be in flight. I mean, if you think about it in the middle of the wintertime, when you get a 50-degree, which is like, it's like 80, it feels like it's 80 degrees in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
They're out there flying like crazy, relieving themselves and stuff like that. But yeah, they should be fine and all that. I'm hoping they're going to be doing that tomorrow, licking them buckets up for me.
It's going to be nice here for the next 2 weeks. To me, like 70, 72 degrees. I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I don't know why, but I'm going to try it on a couple of boxes. I'm going to do a 50-gram dose of Apigard. And 2 weeks later, I'm going to come back and put a couple tablets in there, Appy tabs, A tabs, and
Brad?
Hey, everybody. Charlie, Todd.
Brad. But yeah, so I'll do a half of Apigard and the other half of A tab. See what happens. And then everybody else is getting Apigard. So I'll start that next week. And then that'll be that.
You said a half at the Appy tab?
Yeah, no. A 50-gram dose of Apigard. And then 2 weeks later, an Appy tab, an A tab. So we'll see what's up.
Have you been using any of your what's it, cheesies?
Cheesies.
I don't think I've seen them before.
That's what Cheetos ripped off.
That's a northern brand.
That's a Canadian
Hey,
invention.
James.
It was invented in Canada, and Cheetos ripped it off.
James, DC.
And they're better than Cheetos.
Hey there, Darren. I haven't seen
Hey,
you.
Darren.
Haven't seen you for ages.
Come and talk to us, Darren.
There's Brad.
There's Brad.
Hey, Cajun. I'm going to call you Cajun because,
That's right. You got 2
if I
Brads.
call you Brad, it just sounds like I'm talking to myself again.
So, yeah, Todd, have you been using your Viagra and the other stuff, or the BS?
We're getting a little personal here today.
Hold up, I think I came into the wrong
Yeah, you're in the wrong
chat.
wrong chat.
B as in boy.
Dr. Charlie is in.
Let's
Viagra.
make sure we get that straight right off the bat. That's for the bees. Yeah, no, I have. I've actually mixed both of them together. So, it's a tablespoon per gallon. So I put a tablespoon of the Viagra and a tablespoon of the B Integral in there per gallon, right? But I mix it up in a big batch. So, yeah, I've used it. Today I had one hive that I thought it was leaking out of the front, and what it was
Megan Joy.
Those bees it was a box of bees, and they were causing some condensation, overnight. And as that pollen was flying in the hive this morning, some of the baskets got bumped and some of the pollen fell off, and it looked like the stuff I mixed up, because the stuff you mix up with those two, it kind of looks like Gatorade. So with the color,
Is it orangey looking?
No, it's green, like the original Gatorade.
Okay.
It's sort of that color. So anyway, it was a light yellow pale pollen, and it right there on the doorstep. It looked like the feed, but no, it wasn't the feed. It was just condensation.
Now I was listening to that girl up in Michigan there that she had that special program on with, I guess Ian was on there, and the other guy, Linder, out there about
Charles.
about the AAA laps thing. I forget what her name is or what her channel is, but she mentioned I think the Viagra and the vitamins and all that stuff. She didn't really believe in it, but then when she started using it, she could definitely tell a difference in her bees.
Yeah.
And I think, well, also she was mentioning that, our environment does not supply what it used to do, let's say 100 years ago,
Yeah.
as far as plants and things.
Yeah. Too much concrete laying around now. Not enough plants.
Concrete's full of minerals, though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Around here, they add this is what I guess they add. They add salt or something to the concrete when they pour it, because in the wintertime I get these white chalky marks on the concrete when it gets cold enough. And I'm like, it looks
That
like
sounds like the stuff they put in there to make it dry fast.
I don't know, but every year it looks.
Well, usually that's calcium. That's what it was. The calcium.
yeah.
Around here they put that in the cement when it's in the wintertime to get it to dry,
Oh,
and then it gets that white
chalky look.
chalky
Yeah.
dust looking stuff on it. Lime.
Yeah.
Charlie sounds like Jed Clampett when he says cement.
Yeah. Actually, I seen a thing on YouTube. I guess it was Facebook that they showed the set where the cement pond is.
The cement pond.
And, I thought it was like part of that, that where they show the mansion that actually is a true mansion in California. They were renting that, and they could only show certain rooms of that because people were jumping the fences back in the 60s thinking that Jed was there and all that stuff. But anyway,
Uncle Jed, I saw Melly Me in the cement pond.
Oh,
that's
man.
like I went down there to oh, I forget what the darn name of the town is where Andy Griffin come from.
Maybe.
Mayberry.
Yeah, but it's not really Mayberry. It's something. I forget what the name of the town is, but they got a museum down there and all that stuff. And the last time I was down there,
That was Buddy
You know-
Ebsen.
huh?
That was Buddy Ebsen.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Andy Griffin and Mayberry.
Okay.
And it's in North Carolina. And I've been to the town where he lived. They got his house, showing where he grew up as a kid. And they got a museum there. And of course, I didn't know it the first time I was there. And the second time I was there, she had passed it away about 3 or 4 months before I got down there to go to the thing. But Thelma Lou, she worked at museum. I think like once a week, like on a Wednesday, one day a week.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been nice to be able to meet her. She didn't look like nothing like she wasn't when she was young, but they had pictures of her. She was a swimsuit girl back in
Donna
her day.
Douglas?
Not Donna, but Thelma Lou, like Barney's girlfriend.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, Thelma. Yeah.
Yeah, Thelma Lou.
My brother was, because he drove truck for 40 years all over the states and whatnot, and he was in a lineup at a buffet one day, and he's standing there, and he kind of got looking at his woman ahead of him, and she turned and he said to her, he said, "You Donna Douglas?" She says, "Yeah."
Huh. And she was, in real life, she you know, how she always liked the animals and stuff on the Jed Clampett show.
Yeah.
And that in real life, that's what she did. She helped
The
dogs.
ultimate tomboy.
You know, she had different things for the dog, you know, for dogs to go to and all that stuff.
Sorry, I completely derailed everything with the cement pound.
But
Louisiana girl.
What's that, Joey?
Donna Douglas. She's an old Louisiana girl.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
yeah. So how's the what is it called? The turbo. You still running the turbo?
Turbo is. I think you should have called it the Lightning.
Mhm.
That thing's fast. Boy.
I told him on his last video he pulled an Ian. He was
Yeah.
talking. It went off.
Well, I took a little snippet of that
Yeah.
that video that he did. I
Yeah.
was just goofing around. But yeah, boy. Oh,
And that
thing is
what's it like 10 for what, a couple grams,
2 grams, 10 seconds.
10 seconds?
Yeah.
And then the other one is what, 20 seconds maybe?
Well, the other one's 20 seconds, so it's no slouch either.
Yeah.
No. That beats
Yeah.
2 minutes any day.
Oh yeah.
But now with that unit, I guess it burns up the batteries a little quicker.
I don't think it burns any more battery per treatment.
For treatment.
I found that if I try to do 1-to-1 treatments with the compact, that the turbo will run out of battery first because it's sitting there trying to stay hot while the compact is still treating.
Treating.
So you got to keep the turbo going to make use of it.
Basically, you know, with the turbo can do 2 highs while the compact's doing 1.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
It can be,
The trouble is I can't make full use of it if I'm trying to use the turbo and the compact, because I tried to do that on my last round and I treated 7 with the compact and 11 with the turbo, because you know you got to move them, you got to load them and set them up, and then you have to walk to the other. And this yard is really bad for that right now because the hives are everywhere. So there's a lot of walking involved. So I just couldn't do 1-to-1 just because of my limitations of actually getting both of them. Every time I looked at that turbo, it's sitting there waiting on me. Just I'm shocked at how, like, I didn't believe it when I first started using it. I was waiting, and it's kind of like waiting and waiting. It said it was done.
Do you think if you had 2 of those, you'd be any faster because it'd be so far ahead of you?
You wouldn't go twice as fast with 2. I wouldn't go twice as fast with 2. I would maybe go 1 3/4 as fast with 2. But I think it would still end up waiting a bit on me, which actually is what I want, because I want to treat his yard as fast as I can treat the yard. I don't want to stand there waiting for the machine. So it's impossible to get that bang on exactly right, because some days I move a little faster than other days, right? So having the machine work faster than slower is always better. But I found that 2 compacts were just about right for me. I didn't wait for them very much at all. So I was quite happy with the 2 compacts.
right. Hey, Dinah. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, well, before I got the doser for my ProVap, people say, you know, about how fast or what. I said, look, by the time I stick the unit in while it's cooking over there, and then I'm like moving my dosey, my little peanut can with my powder in there and my extra cups and all that, and then you leapfrog in front entrance, you know, covers that close the hole up. You know, time you get all those different things done, you're ready to pull the unit out and then stick it into the next hive. You know, there was no downtime whatsoever.
Yeah,
Now I got the doser where it's like a plunger, just like what you got. And
that is absolutely absolutely slick, isn't it? That just takes
oh yeah,
all of the fumbling out of it. Just
yeah. You just go over
dunk
there
it
and
in the thing, and then
I hit it, put it in there, pop it, and you're
yeah,
done.
yeah.
And it's it's there, it's done.
Do you,
And,
do you think the turbo does a better job of distributing the OA in the hive? A better job? I don't know. It sure comes out of there in a big hurry. And he did. I've never seen another manufacturer do this, but he actually did. He captured the output and analyzed it for how much OA and how much formic and how much CO2 is coming out. He graphed that, and he learned that the 260 degrees was the peak of performance for that machine. Now, I think that would change by machine because you take into account where the bowl starts, how much it drops when you drop the OA in, how long it takes to recover. So I think you'd have to do that test for every different machine because of the different design of the bowl, the different wattage of the heater element, and whatnot.
yeah.
So, but for the turbo, that's what he zeroed in on, 260 degrees.
Hey, Ian, good to see you
Hey, boss.
and all that. Oh, Ian, I got a question for you. I've been watching this guy down in Alabama. He's planting canola with a corn planter. Is that what you guys use, or is it a grain drill up there?
Not a row crop.
That's what
It's not a row crop.
that's what I figured. I figured it's a grain
Oh,
drill.
yeah, in Alabama.
He's he's in West Tennessee, outside on the other side of Nashville, I think. He's going to plant canola. I'm like, okay. Somebody wanted to buy it from him, the canola. I didn't think it
Maybe
was.
that's all he has.
No, he does. He's got like 3,000 acres. He does 1,000 acres of corn, 1,000 acres of beans, and 1,000 acres of cotton. And he wanted to plant 60 acres of this canola, and he had to buy the planter disc and all this other stuff because the seeds are so small. And he was going to use a grain drill, but he couldn't get the grain drill to go down to the smaller amount
That's
of
pretty
pounds
small.
per acre.
Yeah.
It's like 4 pounds per acre. And he says, I can't get that to go that close. So interesting.
Air drill.
Yeah, Ian, I think that's what this guy has. I think he has a Kinsey planter that, he has a gang of planter heads in the front when they're doing soybeans, and then in the backside is for when he does 12 rows of corn at a time or 16 rows of corn, I think. So, okay. I was just wondering. I never have any experience with it.
So Stone River wants to know temperature difference between the two Brads.
Huh.
What's the temperature there, Cajun?
Today it was like in the 70s.
Wow, it's cold down there.
High today was 12 here.
12 is
About
53 degrees, 54 degrees.
See?
It's 52 here right
I had
now.
that in my head.
Yeah, it was high 70s, but we fixed to get into like next Wednesday. I think they got a front coming in. Our lows are gonna be in the 40s and highs in the 70s.
It was beautiful sunshine today. Hot
Mhm,
sun.
yeah,
The bees were
nice.
bees were flying.
So,
Yeah.
Brad, you hadn't been in the 40s yet this week?
No.
We've had a few high 40s here.
Yeah, it was a little that patch that it went a little bit to the east of us, that little bit cooler weather, and you more to the east of us.
Yeah.
It kind of dipped down over Mississippi and went down into the east part of Louisiana. But we got down like 50, 52, something like that was the lowest. Matter of fact, I went deer hunting that morning.
Did you get anything?
Yeah, a little 3-point. It's got some meat. I went bow hunting.
Mhm.
Ian's still working. He hasn't got into the seasonal cheer yet.
So now, do you bow hunt like this, or do you have a crossbow and shoot them like that?
Crossbow.
I
You know,
see
did they change the law or
how many
something? I don't know
bows
what
you
it was.
got.
No,
I didn't know what
anybody can use a crossbow, but I stopped using my bow years back because I tore ligaments in my shoulder, and I can't pull it back no more. My regular bow.
Well, I always thought that the crossbow was only allowed for the handicap.
No, not in Louisiana. Anybody can use a crossbow. You could use whatever you want, crossbow or regular bow.
I think that law or whatever. I think even in Maryland, I think they got rid of it too. I'm not sure. I have to ask some hunter
Yeah,
people.
it changed a few years ago.
My son has a regular bow. I don't know what kind it is, but let me tell you, the way they got the regular compound bows now, they shoot just as accurate and almost as far as a crossbow. Matter of fact, the range that a crossbow can shoot, I don't even shoot it because I can't see, because you can only have a 1 power scope on it.
Really?
Yeah, you can't have a magnification like a high powered rifle. So shooting something at anything over 50 yards, I don't even do it because I don't even want to. And where we hunt at in the woods, you don't have that far of a shot anyhow. It's in the timber and stuff. So anything over 60 yards, you can't shoot any kind of bow because there's so many branches you could hit or whatnot.
Right.
But this little buck that he came right on eating my stand the other morning, he was like 15 yards away.
I think in California, crossbows cause cancer.
Oh,
Everything does.
I'm just going out on a limb there.
Don't travel here. You'll infest yourself. There's a sticker on every.
I guarantee you the string would be dangerous.
There's even a sticker, a Prop 65 sticker on a roll of toilet paper, I'm sure.
Let me tell you what, a crossbow, you do not want to. I was shooting at a hog that came up behind me last year, and I was looking through that scope. So you kind of lose your vision around you because you're focusing on that scope. And I was turning around to a tree behind me because he was coming up behind me, and I was too close to that tree when I released. And I got a Raven, and it compresses in, and then it expands out. Well, when it expanded out, that one limb hit that tree, and it blew up like a shotgun went off in my face. Knocked the bark out of that tree. It broke the limb on one side, the crossbow.
Wow.
They could be dangerous if you're not careful what you do.
Well, aren't those crossbow arrows or bolts, as they call them, aren't they like a heavier arrow than a regular bow and arrow?
No, actually, they're a little bit lighter. They're shorter. And the one I shoot is 100 grain.
Is the velocity any different?
Yeah. Like the one I'm shooting right now does 415 feet per second. And I think my son's regular bow, which is a good quality bow, I think he shoots like 300.
So it's a little more power.
Yeah, a little bit faster, but you still got to deal with the drop, with the distance stuff. So like inside my scope, there's different alignments for
distance.
1 to 20. It goes all the way up to 100, but like I said, I've never shot anything past 50 yards.
Well, I was just kind of doing the math in my head. Again, doing math in my head. That difference in power, that's 30% or better. So that's a lot.
Yeah, like where I watch tons of videos because I love it. Like regular bows, or when he shoots his bow, a lot of times his bow, the arrow will go through the deer, but if it's over like 30 yards, it might get stuck in the deer, where it penetrates through and through, but it's still in him. Where that crossbow, it's gonna go through bone, penetrate the deer. It's not gonna, it's not. If it's anywhere close, like within 50 yards, it's going through that deer.
Wow.
all the way through it.
all the way through it. If you use the
Yeah.
right broadhead, the one I shot, I shot him actually down, and I shot him in the shoulder blade, and it went right through that bone and came out the other side.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, they're illegal.
How do you cock that thing?
Mine, since my shoulders tore up, I used to have one that you pull back, but I can't even do that anymore. So mine has a crank on it.
Hmm.
It has
Those-
It's got
has-
the Model T.
Well,
crossbow.
that sounds like the ones you see in them old castle movies, where
exactly.
they would bring it back.
It's a handle that detaches off the bow, and it clips back onto the end, so you don't lose it. But it has this grabber that goes down on a track, grabs the string, and you crank it up, and it pulls the string, and it's what holds the string to release it when you pull the trigger.
That's cool.
They're illegal in California.
Oh, really?
Well, they cause
They-
cancer.
They cause cancer, and at times they could cause extreme blood loss too.
A drop in blood pressure.
yeah. But no, they are illegal in here in this state.
I watch all those warden shows that they make up north, like in around Michigan and stuff like that. Man, y'all got some. You need a lawyer for the wildlife and fishery to hunt anything out there, hunt or fish. The one I was watching today, they had a set time that you can only fish with a artificial lure compared to just a hook and a worm. I mean, I was like, gee whiz, and all the people were waiting in the water for a certain time to fish. I'm like,
Jeez.
Yeah,
we don't have anything like that here in Louisiana.
it's crazy here. It really is.
Well, where's that at, Brad?
Michigan,
In Michigan.
they were fishing for walleye and some kind of pike and a trout. Well, the season opened up at midnight. So if you were fishing before midnight, only thing you could use was a hook with a worm on it. And that was allowed to catch like catfish and stuff like that. And if you caught a walleye, you were supposed to immediately release him. Well, the game wardens were in the trees, and they were, all these boats were at night lined up in the river, and they were giving tickets out if anybody put that lure in the water 1 minute before midnight. They were giving tickets left and right.
Yeah, I'd watch that. What was it called? North Alaska, game warden.
Yeah, I watched that one too.
And I'm like, every time I would watch that, I get really irritated and mad. But they came, of course, it's all a show as far as I'm concerned, where they found this old moose carcass or something like that, and they're like gonna do a total autopsy on it, like somebody got murdered or something, and find the guy who shot it and blah blah blah. I'm like, what a bunch of crock.
Oh yeah, they make it a big old scene like it's a murder or something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Deer or anything.
Then there was one guy there. He shot at. They had this here dummy moose,
Yeah.
and he shot at it. Oh, you shot it out sitting in the truck. He said, no one. He says, I was standing on the ground leaning against the truck. It was an older guy.
Yeah.
He said, I wasn't in the truck.
Yeah.
And
to me, that fake deer that they use, because they use that down here too. Every now and then you'll catch them more in North Louisiana.
Yeah, big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, that's entrapment. I don't know how is that legal. I mean, it's you're not actually shooting at an animal. You're shooting at a dummy.
Well, it's the charges they put on you. It was the intent. It wasn't actually
What you think you're shooting at, that's what it is.
It's the intent.
I thought I was shooting at a dummy.
Property destruction.
Yeah.
I was trying to blow it up.
No, I watch these videos and I just remember the thing that they should be told: do not talk to the game warden. The last thing you can do is say anything to the game warden. If he asks you a question, mum's the word. You don't let him do his investigation, but you don't help him hook you up. I mean, that's the stupid. Some of them are so stupid.
Hey, Matt. Yeah,
those wardens will trick them. They tell them lies to make them believe that they have more evidence against them, and they will just diarrhea them out, just give it all. And then the wardens get back in the truck and they explain what they did and stuff like that. And it's legal for them to lie, just like a private, an investigator of murder. They can lie to you to get the information out of you. They don't have to tell you the truth. Like I got more than what you know or stuff like that. Get you nervous.
Hey, Mark. Yeah, I don't know. I get aggravated when I watch that kind of show, so I don't watch them.
I've run into game. I used to hunt for years and years. I don't hunt anymore. But I used to run into game wardens all the time, and they would just, "Hey, how you doing?" We all knew each other, or knew of them, and we'd even call them if we needed them for any reason. I had one guy. He lived 2 miles straight shot from me, and I was coming out of my deer stand right at dark. Got to my truck. He pulled over and, "Hey, how you doing?" And I said, "I'm pretty good. How you doing?" He said, "You see anything?" I said, "No, I didn't see nothing today." "Can I check your gun?" I said, "Sure." I handed him my gun. He checked and see how many it hold and everything. And I told him, I said, "I've been hunting since I was 15 years old. Actually, younger than that. I've been carrying my license since I was 15 years old. This was back when I was around 35, 40. I said, I've never been checked. You're the first one, and you live 2 miles from me." And that kind of burned me up. I didn't say anything else to him, but I had to laugh at him because 2 years later, he got caught hunting illegal in Colorado. Now, I laughed my butt off. I started to call him up and just laugh at him on the phone. "You got what you deserve, buddy."
Well, I knew this a guy who he was like you say, well, I won't say a game warden, a park ranger, but he could, do the same thing with the hunters and all that stuff. And he loved, doing all this, giving tickets out and whatever. And he was at this little local store there, pizza shop type of thing. And these other guys came in, he said, "Yeah, there's some of those." He said, "There's some poachers right there." He knew he couldn't prove nothing, And I'm like, "What's the deal?" He said, "Well, about, hunting deer." I says, "Look," I says, "there's so darn many deer out here. Who cares?" I mean, some of my up there where my brother lives, the park, the deer know this. They know where the park ground is because they're safe in there in a wooded area. It's a watershed area is what it is. And they'll come out in the hayfield and there'll be literally 60 deer out there, 30 to 60 deer. I'm like, so what? You take a few of them out of season. Who cares? There's so darn many of them. It used to be when I was growing up, if you seen a deer, that was a big deal. Now it's like, who cares? They're like dogs and cats. There's so many of them.
Yeah, we have some crazy ones down here too. They very strict during the opening weekend and stuff like that, checking everybody, checking children, and writing tickets for the simplest little things like, if you forget your orange hat or something like that. But they go out there, like I know 2 reserves at our house, they got this chronic wasting disease that's going on in other states, and it's starting to come into northern Louisiana. Well, they come in there in 2 of our reserves, put corn out, and slaughtered the deer to do testing. And they're like, here you are, you're slaughtering deer that don't have any disease. If they do, you're taking out the ones that are resistant to the disease along with the ones that do have it. I said, what's the purpose of all that? I asked the guy, because he was telling me this, because we hadn't been seeing deer in a certain area. He says, "Oh, we did a control kill."
Control kill, yeah.
Yeah, a control kill in this area. I said, "A control kill?" He said, "Yeah." He said, I said, "Did y'all come up with?" No, it's not in the parish yet. He said, "But we wanted to test for it." So y'all killed hundreds of deer just to do this test. I said, what about just having natural resistance? You killing off deer is not going to help the situation out, whether we have it here or not. And he says, well, we're just doing our job, sir. I said, yeah, you're doing a good job. I said, somebody ought to sue y'all to replace all these deer that y'all killed, because when a hunter kills one, whether it's he didn't have a license or you find something small, you make that hunter pay to replace that deer back into the wild. It costs like $2,500 if you kill one out of season, or if you forget your license one day, or you forget to do the check-in tag at the reserves and you kill a deer. They take the deer and charge you $2,500 to replace it. But they can kill hundreds and don't have to worry about.
For years the game warden had rights. They, without a warrant, they could come up to your house and check your freezers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's starting to be a thing of the past, because there's a lot of states fighting it now.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to have a warrant.
Well, the thing was they passed this little law that you couldn't keep wild game 6 months after the season was closed in your freezer. So that was like when I was in my 20s and 30s. That was the law. If they came to your house because someone said you were poaching or whatnot, and they checked your freezer and you had wild game still in your freezer 8 months after the season, they could seize the meat and write you a ticket for it.
That's kind of stupid, because you can kill 5 deer. Now, how long is it going to take you to, if you and your wife and maybe a couple of kids, how long is it going to take you to eat 5 deer?
Yep.
They had so many complaints that they kind of reworded that to where it's not, I forgot how they did it, but it's not 6 months no more. You just can't, like on opening morning. See, it used to be like if we had squirrels left over from last year, on opening morning of squirrel season, we would bring them to cook in the woods to clean out the freezer. Well, couldn't do that back then, because if you were cooking squirrels, they could come there and write you a ticket for hunting out of season or killing out of season, because you wasn't supposed to have any squirrels yet, because the night before opening morning. Yeah. So they kind of did away with it. They don't enforce it, is what I'm saying. They didn't do away with the law, but if you look it up, it's either 6 to 8 months now. You're not allowed to have game in your freezer in Louisiana.
All right, let's get back on the bees, I guess.
Oh yeah, bees.
Oh yeah.
Is that what we're here for?
Yeah, Brian out there in Colorado, he can only have 2 colonies in his backyard. Well, I know he's got more than that back here. He's breaking the law. But what really is kind of course, I guess it's because of where you live, is that what is it, Brian? Out there, he's allowed to capture his rainwater off of his own roof in a barrel. And it's like, here it's like, it's unheard of. Nobody does that anyway. Well, some people do for gardening and stuff, but
yeah, just for like they do it just like not to have the pollutants in from the city water or whatnot.
It's illegal.
Well, their concern is they don't have any water. They're in a desert climate.
Yeah,
trying to get the water back into the ground and all, which is.
But isn't it illegal in certain areas that you can't keep the water?
Yes, I believe Washington State it's illegal.
What's that?
To catch rainwater.
If you capture rainwater, you can't keep it.
Why? Yeah, I don't know the details.
Like Brian just said, there the water rights.
Belong to you.
So even if I drink it, I'm not going to keep it.
Yeah, well, I mean, water rights. I see when I was out west out there and the camp, they were talking about being fined if you stole water or done something. Water is a big thing, out there because it's perishable.
Well, I can understand if they stealing water from that, I guess you call it a turnpike or whatever they got there, where they got these little dams, and the waterman will come tell you, okay, you can have water today, and they open up the dam and the ditches flow to their property or whatnot.
Irrigation. Yeah.
If they steal water there, I can see it. But I mean, rainwater. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, I don't see the the wisdom behind that. Like, let it go in the ground and soak in the ground. Is that their purpose?
Well, I guess so. Hey, Matt, good to see you.
You're stealing it from humanity, so that's against the law.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know Bracken that comes on here out in Utah. He gets irrigation, and he was explaining to me that he gets it each field. There's certain fields get certain amounts of water, and on certain days that he has water rights to that irrigation ditch, and it can only you can draw the water out for so many hours.
Yeah.
And each there's like 2 different farms he has to water those fields and stuff.
They basically just flood their fields, right? They open up.
Yeah, he floods his fields. It was interesting. I said, it looks like you got bowling alleyways. Because there's a little a little hump, like the dirt's, and he says, yeah, those are like bowling alleyways. That water flows down that one alleyway, and then he's got this tripod at the other end. It's got this mechanism when the water goes and it completes the circuit. It sends a message to his text message. Hey, the water has came to the end of the field. That kind of stuff. It was interesting.
I'm glad we don't have to do that down here.
Yeah, Ian, I agree with you too. And there's so many darn rules and regulations that it's nutty.
Yeah, we need to get back to the main 10.
Yeah, that's right, Brian. You know, they're the ones that drained that their one dam out there.
Well, since I'm the only Californian in here, I got something to say about that.
About what?
Oh, the Colorado River. You know, I'm pretty certain Nevada takes its share out of that too. By the time it gets down south, it's like a trickle.
Are y'all still protecting that little fish down there?
That little fish is about 2 hours north of me in the Delta, and I've told you guys about that fish. It's crazy.
I say y'all just kill it off and just make a memorial for it, and then go ahead and use the water.
Yeah.
And just put here where the little fish used to swim.
Yeah, that little fish came out from Oklahoma out here during the Dust Bowl, and those people brought it over here because they didn't know if they were going to run out of food on the trail out here.
Yeah.
So
it's not natural to that area.
No, but they poured them in the waterways and the rivers, and then now everybody thinks they're natural to this place. They're not.
Yeah.
The same exact fish is in Oklahoma.
Y'all need some Republican governors, like down there in Florida. You know, they got the python issue, and Ron DeSantis just passed a law that he's got a bounty on him to where you can go out you can go out and hunt them, and they don't have to turn them in. They just have to report how many they catch, and they can sell them. They can keep the meat. I don't know who eats the meat, but they mainly use it for the skin. They can sell the skins and do what they want with them now.
Wow.
Used to be they couldn't touch them. You had to call a wildlife agent to come remove it if you found it.
Well, I seen a video one time, and of course, I guess it's more of the story, I guess you would call it, to make a show out of it. Mm-hmm. And he found this great big old python in the back of this woman's house, and there was like a lake or a little stream behind there. I mean, that sucker was like 15 feet long. And I'm like, you're wearing a 9mm. Pull the darn 9mm and shoot it in the head. And he's trying to wrestle it and capture it. I'm like, shoot that sucker.
I seen these guys. They were showing how they go in Florida. You know, they go in the holes that other animals burrow and stuff, and they raise their young and lay their eggs in there. Well, these guys would shine a light up in that hole, and they would see that big python in there, and they would stick their arm down in there, and
you got to be crazy,
and just come out, and they like, don't let him grab hold of your hand, and they searching for the head and just pull that sucker out. I'm there like, gee whiz. They pull them out. They like you said, they're 15, 20 feet long.
And they had one photograph of one. They found one. I forget. It was huge like that.
Oh yeah, they get.
And they shot that thing with a shotgun. How big it was.
But you're gonna since he just signed that into law during the week, and you're gonna see some videos come out of some people going there and hunting those snakes.
Well, that's like the Nutra down here. They still they pay a bounty on them, don't they? The Nutra
You talk about in the southern part of Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like $5 a Nutra.
Yeah. All you got to do is show them the tail or give them the tail.
Oh, look, when I would duck hunt, like I said, back in the 30s and when I was 30 and 40s, that was Nutra everywhere. And like you said, they had a bounty on them for $5, and we'd be sitting in the boat when the ducks wasn't flying. You would see these Nutra on these little mounds, and we would just do pop shotting of Nutra. You would shoot them, they would jump 3 or 4 feet in the air. But yeah, you could get $5 a piece for them, and now you don't see any. That bounty wiped them out.
How are your bees, Todd?
How are your bees, guys?
My what?
Charlie, that girl you was talking about the video, was that B-Fit? Is that who that was?
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been.
I need to go watch that.
There's Mr. 5%.
What's her video about?
Hey guys,
He's all dressed up, ready to go hunting.
back to the tractors, listening to you guys on the tractors. I thought as I was walking through the place here, I'd stop in.
That's cool. Thanks for stopping by, Ian. And
How much battery you got, Ian?
I have 5%, so I'm going.
Mr. 5%.
I'm getting him
I know.
phone charger for Christmas.
He needs a battery pack, a big battery pack for the back of that thing.
Yeah. I need another phone. Like I do some of these YouTube videos, you think I'd have a better phone. Even when I do these videos on these lives, I am on my computer and my sound is terrible. I need a mic or something. I got to step up my game a little bit.
You still using a flip phone?
Good. You sound good.
Flip phone. No, I have a mini, an iPhone mini.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Sometimes you see on Ian's videos where his bee suit that he's got taped up the holes in the bee suit and all kinds of stuff. Well, that's kind of like his phone. That's the same thing.
True to form, eh, Brad?
Yeah.
Yeah,
if you get around.
If you get the new phone, it'll be too big for you to hold while you opening up boxes and stuff.
Yeah,
I bought this one here this year, but it's expensive.
Yeah, I was cracking a few bottoms. I was in a cornfield and I was beside one of my yards. I couldn't help myself, so I hopped off the cart and went over and cracked a few boxes. I'm thinking they're looking all right. So I don't know. I'm going into winter in good shape, but that's a good place to be.
Yeah, I'm feeling good too. They're looking really good.
Are you getting ready to haul them into the barn?
Yeah, I'd say it might rain Monday, Tuesday. It's going to be pretty warm this weekend. So as soon as I can get back driving again, so probably Sunday evening, maybe after the rain passes. But I'll try to have them in before November. Just depends on how busy we are in the field, though. So I'm going to start poking them in.
How much lead time do you give your refrigeration?
Yeah, good point. I think I'm going to start that on Sunday, just to cool the place down a little bit. Yeah, it'd be nice to cool her down.
Well, I mean, Brad's talking about you say your bees are flying, Brad. Is your bees still flying too, Ian, then? Are they?
Well, they're flying maybe today they got out just a bit, but not a lot. It was a pretty warm day today all the same, but it was,
Sun was hot.
Yeah, so they'll get out just a bit. But the flight you think about in the summer, there's none of that. There's hardly any foraging. They'll get out and poop maybe a little bit, but they'll do that this weekend. It'll be the last flight for my bees anyway. I'll put them away.
Well, having that
Wouldn't you like to be the bee that got to go out and poop before the man hauls you in?
That's the one that makes it.
Think about the poor little bee who is fixed. He says, "I'll just go out tomorrow."
5 months later,
in February, they're all dancing around. And says, "I told you should go." Yeah, I didn't think it would be this long.
I'll go tomorrow. It's supposed to be
That's-
sunny tomorrow.
That's kind of the
Yeah,
same
no doubt.
concept of partying all night and have to get up and go to work the next morning.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm. But
Yeah, but anyway, everything's going pretty well. The corn's coming in very heavy, and getting the land work done. Things are breaking down, so that's if we're not using it, we're not breaking it. So that's just the way
Yep.
it goes.
so back to this canola thing. Do you plant now and it goes through the winter time?
No, not us. We're too cold up here. They'll do that in southern. I'm not sure how far south they go with that, but you need a little bit more of a mild winter to get. They do it in Europe a lot. The winters aren't as harsh, so they can get a winter crop going through, but not us.
No, I was just this guy I watched. He's in Tennessee.
Maybe Texas or where was he?
No, he's in Western Tennessee area,
Oh,
and they're
okay.
they have a mild winter down there. And
Yeah,
he said he had to get it planted in, and then up a good ways for it before it so it would go through the winter. Not he said it wasn't like wheat where they could get through it.
Oh, okay.
It's something new for him to do. It was just the fact that he was doing canola, and I know you do canola and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I was like, I was comparing notes is why it was interesting to me.
Yeah, he's using a row crop with a vacuum disc on it, so he can pretty much the vacuum disc turns. It's just like a corn planter, just very, very small holes on it. So it takes individual canola seeds and it'll sow the canola just exactly all the way down the row on probably a 30-inch spacing or whatever that is. And they'll get pounds per acre to about 2.5 pounds per acre seeding rate, where we're putting on probably about 4. That's about as low as we can go on that.
Well, he was saying that he should be like 3.5 pounds, but he said his grain drill just couldn't go that low, and that's why he was using the row crop machine. So it was all new to him too, and I was just like I said, it was just interesting the fact that I knew you guys planted all that stuff.
Yeah, we'll sow 5.5 pounds because the bugs take some, the frost takes some, and the rain, the pounding rain takes some. So we usually end up with about 4. So
yeah.
It's expensive feed. It's over $10 a pound, so that's why guys are doing it, just to save on seeding costs.
Yeah. So give us an update on the expansion of the new honey.
Well, we're pulling the pin this year, so that's good. I have my guy tearing the old place down. Sandy, she she walked out to the honey house yesterday to do whatever she was doing down here, and she noticed that Travis was tearing the place down, and she talked to me that evening, and she said, "You're tearing the old honey house down?" As a tear is going down her cheek. Like, there's a lot of memories in that old building. She says, "I remember when you built that building." So
yeah, I know. I mean, the video
that go, but I have to get it gone. Like that's the only place I could put the new place. So I have to get rid of it. So sometimes it's just as easy just to tear the old place down. And
you had the container. Shipping container there that you were pulling out, and then where that was connected to, then you had that smaller it looks like the original building, I guess, that you're tearing all that down to.
Yeah, so the original building was a 24 by 28, and that's, when did I build that? 2021, I think it was. Well, Dad helped me build that. I didn't have any money, so that's where he focused the initial operations on that, and I built up to 400 or 500 colonies, and I built an extra 20 feet onto that, and then I added a shipping container to the side as my hot room, and that built me to 900 colonies. I don't know how I did 900 colonies through that, but I did. And then I built this place, which is like a breath of relief, because I now have a facility and space and an office, and I can bring employees in, and it's just so much easier. And now I'm at this stage now, if I stay at the size I am, we're just the redundancy of moving boxes and all this stuff we do through the day because we don't have enough space. I'm adding it's basically what it is a storage building, 60 by 100, just on to the west side of the building. So it's going to hold all my boxes, all my barrels, and then I'm eventually going to put in an employee lounge and an office up on top. So, and a a door which will allow my truck to drive in, and I can close the door so I can hide from the bees in August. So it's
Right.
going to be very nice.
So on your barrels, do you have to buy them, or does Bee Made, or what was it? Bee Made?
Bee Made, yeah, they supply the barrels for me, so I
Okay.
pick them up. I pick up about 500 drums every year. So I have to. The rule is though you have to keep them under cover, and typically I keep them in my dry van trailers just to keep them out of the weather. But I think what we'll do is we'll offload them and we'll store them into the new shop here because it's easier when we're filling barrels. It's with the forklift go grab 4 at a time because we fill about 20 a day.
Now I
So
was
it's
watching
pretty-
Bob Benny's video there, and he must have about 4 tractor trailer loads of barrels sitting outside. He's trying to
That's
get
a lot of
Yeah.
barrels he's got sitting there.
That's
Yeah,
a lot
guys
of
are
barrels.
moving to totes now because totes 3.5 barrels and much easier to handle than a barrel. So guys are going totes. Hopefully, I've been kind of pushing B-Made to do the same to go into totes because I just hate barrels. Boy, I hate barrels. Maybe I'll say the same thing about totes too, but the tote just seems a lot, easier to use and
You got to have a
higher
bigger
volume.
forklift with a tote. I'm sure the weight, what, a couple tons?
yeah, 3,500 pounds. I think they're saying it was.
Yeah. About
I could be wrong about that. The problem is you can't stack them any higher than 3. So B-Made likes the drums because they go 4 high in their warehouse. So there's trade-offs on it.
Yeah, I was wondering whether you could even stack them. I mean, because usually those the cages are aluminum. I don't think that they were that strong.
Yeah, there's those, and then B-Made's kind of dabbling with this other type of tote that's it's not like that. It's easier. Like you take the lid off it so you can clean it out better. You can get the honey out easier than those. I don't know how you get granulated honey out of those.
Yeah, that's well, you have to have a
Those
hot
stage
room for
totes.
sure.
Yeah. So, any rates, I'm gonna step out again but I just wanted to say hi. I wanted to tell you, Charlie, that I listened to you on the tractor. So keep up the good
Oh, really?
work. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. We sometimes get in some pretty good conversations here and stuff.
Oh,
so.
sure. Yeah, I just love it. Better than radio. Yeah. So, any rate, see you guys. We'll
See ya, Ian.
All right, we'll see you.
Yeah.
Come on in, Bracken. That was nice. I'm glad to see you, and I haven't seen him for a long time.
He's got a lot of irons in the fire this year.
Yeah, I haven't seen
I
him in
don't
a
know.
long time
I don't
either.
know how he does it. I just don't.
Well, I mean, as far as the farm goes, he has his brothers, and I'm sure they have hired help to do that part of it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not all on him.
It's basically like a family farm, isn't it?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a kind of a corporation farm type of thing.
And now
Yeah.
his kids are getting old enough to
Yeah,
have a
He's-
lot of
He's
responsibility.
still the one over the beekeeping part of it, though.
Hey, Clay.
yeah. He helps with the grain farm, but nobody helps him with beekeeping because they don't want to work with bees.
Hey, Cayman. Haven't seen you for. Hey, Glade. Yeah, he. I don't know. Like I say, he has the hired help, and then he has his brothers, and they're all farming and getting stuff in. And come on in, Cayman, if you want. And like you say, now his kids, they've started really coming on pretty quick. And then that one daughter, the youngest, he said her name's April. Is it, Brad?
Leah is the youngest.
Is it Leah, the one that's really interested in bees?
Yeah,
I think it was.
yeah. Well, I think both his younger girls. There's 3 girls. One of them's
One's a nurse.
flown the nest, and the other 2 are interested in the bee business.
Hey,
There he is.
Hey, fellas, how's it going?
oh, not too bad. How's the bees? Are you back in home with the bees, or are you still up north?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, my bees are down finally.
That's good.
It's amazing the difference between the ones that we left up north for a while versus the ones down here, and how much the ones in Wisconsin had shut down and brood rearing. There was, little maybe palm-sized bits of brood on a frame or two, and in Tennessee it has shut down a lot, but we're still seeing some frames of brood, just not as many.
Yeah, it's like I went down there. I guess it was Knoxville when they had the honey show. Well, I guess a couple years before when you first started.
That's right. There was something out there. I can't remember what it was called, but
It was called the Honey Show, and it was put on by your state apiarist at the time.
I think it was the assistant state apiarist, Jay Hesselschwarter.
Yeah, that's it.
And then there was a lady that did it with him, and
he moved away to Texas or someplace.
Yeah, something like that. We've had a couple cool things, and we had.
What I was getting at is, and that was in March, and here in Maryland it's like 30 degrees, and down there the trees were blooming. So you get about 6 months ahead of us in the spring, and you're probably 6 months longer in the fall.
So where are you
whole year. That's a whole year ahead and behind.
Or 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Not months.
I know.
6 weeks.
He has 1 day of beekeeping.
Even Brad doesn't have.
Must be hell to stop swarms.
So where are you at, Charlie?
I'm in Maryland, close to Baltimore.
Okay.
You were up here, and the dummies at our state club they didn't put in the flyer that you were going to be live in person. And you were in Washington D.C., which I don't particularly care to go.
That's all them lefties.
I would have came down and seen you if I knew you were going to be here in person. That's been a couple of years ago.
That has been. Lewis Bartlett was speaking. I was my first and only time into Maryland, and I remember Jason Crook, I believe, said the same thing, that he didn't know, and it's just it's funny how that kind of stuff works sometimes. It's actually something I've been talking to a couple of the bigger organizations, because there are some good things going on in the big organizations, but none of us ever hear about it. And a lot of it is because it just never hits the social media stuff, and that's where a lot of people get their information. So it just doesn't go very far. And in fairness to them, it's like I was talking to Project Apis M, and they do a lot of great work on tropical labs and other research. But someone who doesn't put out videos very often on YouTube, YouTube's just not going to promote it. It's just not going to go anywhere. And so I'm like, you guys could send it to one of us that has a channel, and we could release the content that way. The good information still gets out, and you guys don't have to try to figure out how to run a social media account. Because when we started our YouTube channel, the first 2 years, I averaged like 150 videos in a year, and that didn't count any of the lives. And so that really helped get our YouTube channel going. But I had a little bit more time back then too, in some ways, because I was driving a truck, and the conference actually keeps me busier than the truck driving did, if you believe it or not. But
I bet. You can come back in, Ian. You can just charge your phone up a little bit more.
Yeah. 5%.
Yeah, Ian Stepler, huh? Is he saying something now?
He was here 3 seconds before you popped in.
Oh, well, I don't care. It's just Ian. What's he gonna do? He's so far away, and he doesn't come and visit us at the Bee Expo anymore. So maybe one of these days. Flower Street Farm asked, how was Copenhagen? And I'll give a nice plug to Appomondia. It was really cool. And so something that we've always strived with our conference is for it to be fun and have a lot of energy. I don't understand how a beekeeping conference can't be fun. We all love bees. There's a lot of cool things to talk about. And Appomondia, while quite different than ours, all the lectures were very scientific, and most of them were only like 20 minutes. And it was just like, bam, bam, 20 minutes. They get a shepherd's crook, Yankee off, next PhD gets up there. And it was very intense. And of course, it was way more European and kind of Eurasian centered. And so there's a lot of devices that they have in different styles that we just don't need here in the US. A lot of it just doesn't apply, but it was still so very cool. The energy was there. There was about like 7,000 odd people from so many different countries, and the Americans were definitely the minority, and the Canadians. But funny enough, I hung out with Canadians, I think, more than anybody the entire time. A lot of it was the Formic Pro people. Tom Nolan is a riot. And the ladies that Dana and all the rest of them, Heather, they're super nice. And we ended up having dinner with them a bunch. It was a great trip and not cheap, but if you're looking for a great show on an international scale, Appomondia doesn't disappoint.
Well, isn't that convention more for like, I mean, like your convention, I can go there and buy stuff, where that convention is more for a person that is going to the manufacturer to buy, let's say, extractors to resell. Isn't that kind of what that is about over there?
It definitely is different. Their trade show, and it depends on the year too, and that they have a very difficult challenge. I do not envy it. They have to go to a different country with their logistics and move every year. It's so difficult just being in the same spot. I just got news today, and probably Chris is going to kill me if he finds out I'm sharing this stuff. But typically our audio visual by itself is about $50,000 just for, the guys doing the sound and the screens. This year, they said they've changed their policy, and I knew it was coming, but we've been trying to get pricing since early June, and I found out today it's going to be $110,000 if we go through them, which is crazy. And so the logistics of running these events, because now we've got to figure something else out. I can't do that. That's not the recording team. That's not the speakers and their hotels and their flights and all that kind of stuff. I can't spend 200 grand just to get speakers on a stage. Beekeeping's not quite that awesome, but as far as productive, but they have to figure out all these logistics. So their trade show is a little bit smaller than ours. Definitely if you count all of the product, they don't sell stuff much there. There is a few things that sell, but most of it is not for sale. And there is a lot of packers. There's people looking to find someone who will buy barrels or shipping container loads of honey from their country. There's a lot of Chinese and Pakistani stuff. For people who are like, let's say, I saw Adam with Foxhound, and he was there, and so was, John Hill. We actually flew together, so it'd be more fun. I thought it was going to be fun. John snores so loud, and he was next to me. It was terrible. So, John's great, except if you have to sit and sleep next to John, it's terrible. He snores as loud as he talks.
Is he talking in sleep too?
He's been singing on his last
it was like
videos.
Howdy, folks. It's John Hill. Yeah, it's all. No, he woke me up several times too, because then when he gets up in the morning, it's that "Howdy, folks. It's John Hill" sound, and just the way that he talks. It was a fun trip, and it was, with those long flights, it is a lot better to go with friends. But Adam and John and several other people were going over there to find new products and new gadgets, and there's a couple that I'm super excited about. There's one in particular that I found. It's made by a French company, and it's a vest. It's breathable, and it's very lightweight, and it's to cool you down. So of course, a lot of them that you see have like ice packs and stuff, and they're really heavy and bulky. This one has a battery, like a cell phone battery charger, just a little pack, and you plug it into the 3 diodes. One's on your neck, one's by your kidneys, and one's I guess on your abdomen. And I put it on during Appomondia with a long sleeve shirt on. I about froze to death in that thing. It was cold, and it felt like it weighed maybe 2 pounds at the most. So I'm really trying to get some of these guys to get this into the United States as soon as manufacturing can start, because that July in Tennessee with that sucker sounds really, really appealing. So it's a totally different event. 50% of the trade show is Pakistani, Chinese, and honey resellers, but there is still a lot of cool stuff. and you just meet a lot of really cool people there too, from all over the country. So the portions of food over in Denmark were very disappointing. I'm from the South. We like to eat a lot of food. It was very disappointing, the quantities of the food. It was okay. I think they're more concerned about saving the environment than filling me up for dinner. But you have to also be careful. Denmark, you can easily get run over by bicycles. They're everywhere. I mean, there's more bicycles than cars on the roads. So it's very different, very cool. I still would recommend it. The next one's going to be in Dubai, and then it'll be in Germany 2 years later than that. And so, very cool.
Would you go back?
Did you see any Vikings?
I'm sorry.
Did you see any Vikings?
They've traded in their axes and shields and helmets for bicycles, Brad. They really have. And so,
No killing rituals.
there's definitely none of that. And there's probably a lot of people on this channel, and I do not mean any offense by this, but where I live, it's very, very normal for people to have a firearm. And if you only have one, you're kind of a weirdo, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
Well, you missed the big game hunting part of the show here this morning.
did I?
We were killing snakes and deers
Hunter's
and
paradise.
nugets and all kinds of stuff.
Well,
Everything illegal in California.
yeah. Well, I'm illegal in California, probably at this point. I could. They probably need to stamp me with a could cause cancer or something like that. But
That's a Prop 65 sticker. It's on everything here.
That's right. And so they asked me. I had some Danes, and that was the cool thing is you talk to Swedes, Bulgarians, you talk to people just from all over the place over there. And their drinking culture is very different. In fairness to them, there was no one getting drunk and belligerent or anything like that. I think the Canadians are probably more like this than they are in this area. But I go up to a booth, and the girl that was running the booth was Irish, and it wasn't Hive Alive. It's a different company. And of course, she had the heavy Irish accent, and she's like, "Oh, it's been great talking to you. Would you like a shot of whiskey?" And I'm like, "What?" And sure enough, she just like pulls up this big old jar, puts it on the table, and says, "Would you like one?" And everywhere I go, it's like, "Hey, you want some mead? Hey, you want some Danish beer? Hey, you want this?" And I'm like, these people are trying to get me plastered.
And that's why they don't have guns.
I guess so. But it definitely is a different culture over there. But again, when I went to the Hive Alive party, there was people, drinking things, and no one got crazy. It was just it was a really cool old pub. It was so beautiful to look at, the pub. And I got to hang out with several people. But the funniest question that I got asked while I was over there was about, do Americans actually have as many guns as they say? And I said, no, we don't. We have more. And I said, let me put this into perspective. That if the people in my family and most of the people that are friends of mine in this town, I am the most lightweight of the group. I only have 7. And I sat down and I started counting through them. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I got that and that one. No, I've got 9, sorry. And their eyes were about this big around. And I'm like, my neighbor's got 40 something. Nobody ever gets shot. Not in this area anyways. I would definitely want to go knocking at his home at 1 a.m. in the morning, though. I mean, that wouldn't be very smart.
Yeah.
So there's different cultures, but it was quite fun. Apparently, they don't know. I was using the word hot dog, and it was francs over there. And I'm like, yeah, I need 2 wieners, please. And their eyes got that big when I said that as well. So I got to be more careful, I think.
Well, I saw a commercial where, now Brad probably let me know if this is true, but somewhere in Canada, that was, I don't know, not a very high up in politics guy. He was giving a speech about home invasions. And he said, if someone's breaking into your home, be patient, try to hide, secure yourself somewhere in your home, and call, the proper authorities. And then they swapped over to Florida, where the police chief over there was saying, if someone is breaking into your home, shoot. Shoot. It was just
Take them out. You save us the bother. That's what he was saying.
he said,
Well, didn't you say, Brad, up there that you're, by law that your gun is in one room and your ammunition has to be in another part of the house or something?
Yeah,
You can't have them together.
essentially. It's not quite that cut and dried, but essentially, yeah.
That's just so.
It is punishable to point a firearm at someone, and that includes an air pistol.
well,
Or an
I
air gun.
mean, you can't do that down here, but I'm talking about like in a home invasion. You can't point your gun at.
No. Well,
someone-
you go to jail if you do.
if he's in your home.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Guns in Canada are not for use against people. Period.
Yeah.
And the law
Well,
reflects that.
yeah,
I'm
no
not saying I would write the laws like that. I'm not saying I
problem.
agree or disagree.
Yeah,
I'm,
we get
I'm
that.
saying that but using guns against people in Canada is forbidden in every respect except law enforcement, of course.
Well, sure.
Right.
Of course.
So yeah, I mean, what have I got? Right. I don't play baseball, so I couldn't legitimize having a baseball bat behind the door.
Everybody always needs a good pair of clines.
A
What
pair of what?
launcher?
Wire cutters, big pair of clines.
Wire cutters. Okay.
Keep them with me everywhere I go.
How do they suggest you defend yourself? Let's say someone breaks into your home and he's hurting one of your family members, he or she.
Oh, like you said, you phone the police and wait.
Frying pan.
You just sit there and you're supposed to sit there and watch.
Well, according to the police, yeah, you phone the police and wait.
What about
Hang up
pepper
the phone.
spray or anything like
Lock yourself in a bedroom.
Wow.
Well, we're accepting conservative Canadians at this time in Tennessee.
Pick me.
No,
I hope Canadians don't try to come down to Louisiana and rob people, because the stand your ground law is going to take effect.
There's going to be a heap of dead Canadian in Louisiana.
well, it's amazing how you read history on how Canada and the United States started and everything, and then we've all gotten so comfortable that we're now able to sit back and even discuss some of the silly stuff that goes on, because people used to have it so tough. You didn't have time for any of this nonsense. Everyone was just trying to survive, and now we're complaining about how tough our life is at 16 on a $1,200 iPhone.
And that is interesting, and something that I wouldn't have to go back very far, maybe 10 or 20 years, and 20 years isn't very far in my life, but anybody on this screen, most people in the chat that I kind of know, I class as my friends. I could phone you up and I could say I'm coming to visit or ask a favor of you or something like that. 10, 20 years ago, I didn't necessarily know a lot of people in America who I'd feel that comfortable with, who could say, I want to come visit you, and I would offer you my guest room, right? So this kind of thing, I think this goes a long way. I don't have to guess what Americans are like, right?
Yeah.
Because I know enough of y'all to know what you're like, and well,
you see like
we'll leave it at that.
well,
we have our share of weirdos. We have a pretty decent population, so there's a few weirdos. I can think of a few of them in the bee industry. Randy McCaffrey.
Well, America's got 10 times as many weirdos as Canada.
Well,
It's got 10 times as many people, so statistically it kind of works out.
it does. I haven't talked to Randy in forever, but I'll catch up with him before too long. But ultimately, yeah, we're this. I wanted to say real quick that the statement I released on AAA laps on the shipment. We had a decision to make prior to releasing that, and I had thought about it, because we were able to dig in and get some information from the USDA and a little bit from New Jersey. But a lot of it, by the time we found out that there had been an incident, we couldn't get everything and they weren't going to share. And so we had a choice of just waiting, and it maybe being a cliff note in an annual report or just never being released like it was, or release what we felt like we knew from the people that we got. Well, funny enough, 36 miles was what we were told ended up being 3,600. So that is a little bit of a difference. It's not a big difference, just a few miles. If you're counting in kilometers, it's probably not even that big of a deal. But ultimately, the main goal with it was to raise awareness. When I was over in Copenhagen, my number one goal was to meet with a few colleagues, but primarily to meet with the ones who are working on tropicalaps in the country of Georgia. But it is a big problem. And those mites, from what I've been told, can lay an egg, and within 5 days that egg is now a mite that's ready to reproduce itself. And so you stick one mite in there, and then within a short, by the time the end of the brood cycle, there can be it's not like 2 or 3 like a varroa mite. We're talking maybe 8, 10, 12. I'm not 100% sure on the numbers. They're still collecting at our conference. That's the nice thing, is that we're going to have these people that have been over there presenting at the show, and they're going to be able to give us direct information. And they just got back from Georgia with some new stuff. So we're excited to see what they come back with. But ultimately, we want to bring awareness. We feel like there's an opportunity for everybody in North America to work together to try to prevent this as long as possible. And if nothing else, support those from Canada and the US that are going and studying this and doing the research that hopefully we'll all be informed that we can have some solutions and not just take it at the knees and be able to withstand it a little bit better.
So reproduction is one thing, but what is the essence of the damage to the colony? We all know varroa mite. Varroa mite does have a physical impact on the colony as far as wounds from feeding on the larvae and the bees. But the real damage is the viruses that they vector. So is that the same with tropy, or what is the real danger there?
And I think they're still doing so much research on how much viruses they transmit. From what I understand, there is transmission, but is it at the same level? Is it worse? Is it lower? The number one thing that we know from a physical standpoint is they do way more damage, because the varroa all feed in the same hole. If there's 3 mites in there, they all feed out of the same wound, where tropicalaps do not. And so if you have 8 of them in there, you have at least 8 different wounds. And of course, you have a higher risk of something being damaged, like a wing, or maybe some sensory stuff up towards the top. So think about that way. And of course, the faster reproduction is part of the problem. And the added stress on top of varroa is the other thing, because varroa still is doing what varroa does. So
yeah, we don't need more on top of that.
We don't need more. And that the problem of it is like in Thailand, they don't keep bees like any of us do at all. But Georgia, when I talked to one of the beekeepers at the conference, he runs 2,000 colonies in Georgia. And you could just feel the frustration in his voice, but they don't have answers because they're not fully infested in all the areas either. And so for some of them, this is their first year dealing with them, their first season. So they don't even know what their losses are going to be like. And so there's definitely way more questions than answers, but I'm really excited to have Maggie and Gil and Jeff Pettis and the University of Auburn and Project APISM at the show this year to provide different angles on different parts of the research so that we have it. And one of the gentlemen that I met with over there is also talking with them and working to design a product specifically to kill these things. And it's not through the traditional channels, and that's kind of what I'm going for personally. I like things that move quickly. They don't have to be perfect. They just need to move quickly. Perfection can be figured out along the way.
This might be a stupid question, but do the 2 mites coexist together? the two different types?
Well, they definitely are both in the hive at the same time. I'm pretty sure they found them in the same cell, but my limited understanding on it is that Tropicalaps just outcompetes them in the cell. But again, a lot of this is so new. Who knows? And with a lot of stressors, they compound each other. That's typically in agriculture or beekeeping stressors, just one compounds on the other. But what they are doing is they're having to treat every 6 to 8 weeks on these powerful colonies to keep them where they need to be. And this is what they know kind of as of now. They're still figuring things out and finding which products work, and different methods. Supposedly, I was told by one of the researchers there in Georgia that oxalic acid vapor, you have to use it at least once a week just to kind of keep them at the same level that they're at. And so if they get to that threshold and, late May or whatever the threshold is, and that's a part of the problem too, is they're still trying to figure out good monitoring methods on what the loads are in the colony. So there's the bump method, of course. The alcohol wash does not work at all for being able to detect Tropicalaps. And that's another thing. As of right now, it doesn't look like they feed on adult bees. But my understanding also is, they're surviving in cold areas. How are they doing that? I don't know. But then some colonies maybe don't get rid of all of their brood. So there's just so many questions to ask, and this is why Phyra Science, Project Apis M, Jeff Williams with Auburn, and several other researchers need the support. I'm a big fan of what Phyra Science is doing. Not all of them, but they just have such a shoestring budget right now, and I think they've accomplished a lot with the shoestring budget. And one of the guys from Saskatchewan was out there too, and so Jeff something or other. But there's so many Jeffs, it's hard to keep track of them all. So if we name our kids weird stuff like Cayman, we'd get weird results, but we'd be able to keep track of them a little bit better. So there were some people over there talking about shutting the queens down, and that is a much more common practice, it seems, in Europe, especially to cage queens and cause these brood breaks. And so I guess it really just depends on what you're trying to achieve. I don't think many of us in the United States are that intensive where we're going to go and cage a queen or replace a queen every year to create that brood break. There's definitely a lot of advantages to it. But again, I'm a cup half full type person. I do not want this mite here within my lifetime. I want my grandkids to have to worry about it. We got enough on our plate. But ultimately, I don't see that happening with the way we trade things. And so right now the more time we get, the better it is, but we need to be working towards it quickly.
Yep.
You're thinking of Jeff Wilson out of Saskatchewan, probably.
Yes, sir. That's who it was. Well, we have Jeff Williams in Auburn. I was like, Jeff.
Yeah, Williams, Wilson, yeah. This is Jeff with a G, so maybe that would help.
But, there's always something. And, in Tennessee history and most of Alabama and the surrounding states, at one time, 80% of the colonies were wiped out over the course of multiple years because we had such an American foul brood problem. And it was just wiping everybody else out. And that's part of the reasons we still have some rules that I think are a little tough. Like right now, if let's say Brad lived in Tennessee or any of you guys, and I wanted to downsize my operation, I wanted to sell 400 boxes of really nice supers to one of you guys. I can't do that, and not in this state. And it's because of how bad foul brood was back in the day. Those laws were created. Alabama also has a strict comb law, but in Kentucky, I mean, I can sneak across the border and go and buy 500 boxes from a guy up there of comb and bring it back down. It's totally legal up there. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying it's different.
Yeah, when I was down there at that honey show back in 2000, 19, I think it was. They were talking about that you had to, they had that girl was in a club, and she was a certified inspector that could go to your place, inspect your boxes. Yeah, it's okay to sell to the other guy and stuff. I said, really? Yeah. And I'm like,
It's very, very different. And that just, but that was based off of the problems we had with I keep wanting to say ABF, but it's AFB. Uh, and so the AFB, though, eventually we got beyond that. And part of it was because we were so poor in Tennessee in this region, most people couldn't afford removable frames. And so everyone was using bee gums. They were using square boxes that they just threw a swarm in, and the bees would just build wild comb, and they just open up the lid and cut out some honey whenever they felt like it. And so some of these combs were almost, they were like 20, 30 years old. There was guys in the old literature that I've got on my bookshelf bragging about 30-year-old combs. And, there was, so that was different. And then, of course, we had tracheal mites and varroa mites and nosema and now small hive beetles, which aren't as bad as some things, but just all these additional stressors. If history shows us one thing, it's a matter of time until we get something else. The problem I think that we mostly have is getting the education out there properly and also being able to pivot faster. And I'm not trying to be mean, but so I talked to Veda Pharma, VitaBee Health. These are the guys that make Apivar. They make Apiguard, Feroxan. I talked to Nod up there. All these companies are pretty difficult to get them to change their product up. And it kind of makes sense from an economic side of things. Some of these companies, not all of them, but some of these European companies, beekeeping's less than 8% of their revenue. They're into agriculture, they're in other things. And so that's, again, where it's difficult for us to get the funding or the attention sometimes, is we're a very small market. If we were a country or a state, if we were a state, we'd be Rhode Island. Our economic size and population isn't that big, and so we often don't get talked about in those things. And so we need to do a better job, I think, of unifying our voices. I think this is a time to do that. But
it's definitely a big hurdle for them to satisfy the regulatory agencies if they're going to make any changes. And some of those changes that they need to jump through hoops to get approved are some pretty crazy small changes. You change one little tiny thing, and right away you're not allowed to sell product for months before you can, satisfy the regulatory agencies. So I can see how company wants to get a product, stick with the product, milk everything they can out of it before they have to go through all of that again.
well, it's
And
like Mike with
it's unfortunate, but that's just kind of the reality.
it's business, yeah. And so I understand.
And we don't want a world that doesn't have that, right? We don't want a world full of snake oil. We don't want a world full of stuff that's going to damage, say, the environment or the bees or the honey, which can all happen if we don't have some of these regulations. These regulations can be overreaching sometimes, and they can be, cause everything to run at a snail's pace. But in the big picture, really, that's the best way to go. Can it be tweaked? Yeah, it always can be tweaked. Yeah. But
well, the competition is ultimately, nothing changes unless the economics can create the change, in my opinion. So I personally think what we need is a catalyst in the treatment industry that comes in and competes with the current companies. And I like every one of those companies. They have very nice people that work for them, and some of the owners are super awesome too. But again, sometimes their focus is not solely on the bee industry. It's not their sole passion. Not all of the companies anyways. And some of them just truly do not understand the issues that we're facing. They don't understand what it's like to try to run a couple hundred hives of bees or 20 hives in your backyard and to deal with these pests on a regular basis. So I think there's a lack of understanding, and there's the economics. I talk to guys that produce bee suits, and I'm like, guys, there's several things wrong with this. So like, yeah, but our sales keep going up at least 10 to 15% each year, and our margins are really good. And, we just don't really feel any pressure to, change anything. So I've been helping 2 or 3 companies design bee suits, and all of a sudden everyone feels like they need to change the bee suit up a little bit. The economics and the pressure has to be applied. And so that is my hope, that we can, in the next couple of years, get a new company that's going to come into the treatment realm. That's like Brad said, though, it's going to do the right things. If anything, we want more of the natural products. Apivar and those kind of things have done some good things for the industry, but I would prefer that we continue to go down the formic acid, oxalic acid, the organic
There
side.
seem to be lots of organics that do work. So why shouldn't we pursue more of that?
Apagard is
Oh.
an organic, isn't it?
Well, and so it depends on how you define organic, because technically thymol and formic, these are both synthesized versions of formic. It's not like they're getting them straight from ants on the formic, and the thymol isn't coming straight from thyme either. It's actually a synthetic thymol. But as far as
wouldn't be classed as something classed as an acaricide, though, would it per se, like amitraz or apivar? I don't know what the real distinction is between those things, but because they're made of these naturally occurring products. I know they don't squeeze the juice out of red ants to get formic acid. They make that in a lab, right?
I did it as a kid. It was fun.
I'm sure you did.
well,
You were the kid that was eating them, weren't you?
that explains a lot, Todd.
I don't want that job.
I talked to Randy Oliver about this, and this is again one of the problems with these entities. There's great people that work there, but it's easy to add more regulations. It's so hard to get rid of them. And usually it's just you keep adding more and adding more things. The EPA right now won't let us use our own oxalic acid, formic acid, thymol at home. And there's some good points to that. I think most beekeepers I know probably shouldn't be handling 90% formic acid, especially new beekeepers. That stuff is super volatile. But at the same time, as far as a classification, I cannot remember the proper term for this, but Randy Oliver was explaining this to me, is let's say a 55-gallon drum of formic acid, oxalic acid, or thymol fell into a river.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to cause a localized problem. It's going to nuke everything in a very short area. But then once that degrades, it's actually going to feed that area. It's actually going to be beneficial. And it's not like dropping 55 gallons of amitraz into a river. It's totally different. And kind of like when we've had those oil spills out in the Gulf, they eventually get eaten up by bacteria and several other things. Unfortunately, in the short term, there are fish that die and there's some mess that's created, but the natural carbon does break down and ends up disappearing very quickly and not really being the economic environmental problems that they say. And so there's really nothing on my end that I'm concerned about with any of those 3 products. I think what we'd like to see, and what we've been very thankful to see with the oxalic acid glycerin strips, where we're getting products now that, okay, I'm controlling some of my mite loads, but I'm also not really hurting my bees, like cutting the population back. And especially colonies that are on their back foot. I think that's the number one problem we see with our YouTube channel, people commenting about using thymol or formic acid, is that on a really strong colony, they can handle it in pretty warm weather.
Mm-hmm.
The healthy colonies really are tough, and they can handle just about almost anything within reason. And I think there's a lot of beekeepers that have colonies that are on their back foot and they don't realize it. And then they apply these products and their queens get knocked out, or what little brood they were finally kind of getting over the hump, and then you cut them again. And so the timing of using these treatments and understanding that this colony is in a prime spot for 2 pads of formic, this one is not ready for formic acid, is a kind of an art form within itself. And so what I'd like to see is some products come out that are a little bit more user friendly for the beekeeper that's getting into it or doesn't have as much experience, and they're a little bit more user friendly, and they can just drop it in, and it's a more dialed in, softer, slower kill, but still effective. But it's going to be expensive, and we've got some people working on those, and I'm really excited about it. But it takes time and money, so this will be interesting to see.
I'm thankful for companies like Nod, for example. And I don't want to push any products. I got nothing to sell, but things when I'm working when I'm working my bees, the things that are meaningful to me are things like the Formic Pro. I put some Formic Pro on my colonies, and I really don't even have to take that pad off, right? And when I do take it off, guess where it goes? It goes in a compost pile or in the burn pile or something.
Yeah.
I put some apivar. I clean the apivar out of 200 colonies in my apiary. Well, I got a great big bag of these plastic strips that are going to live in the landfill forever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that, right?
No.
I'm not a militant environmentalist, but I still don't like that.
Well, as
Right?
beekeepers,
I'm thankful the companies like Nod are doing that, like going to that level and not just saying, oh, we'll just put it in whatever pad works. No, they worked hard to make sure that was an organic, compostable pad.
Yeah, I mean, now came and talked about getting formic acid in the liquid. Now you've done that. You did that last year where you made up your own pads because it's legal in your country. And then this year you used actually Formic Pro.
Correct.
So what's your opinion? Because you've done both. You like the Nod stuff versus your homemade remedy?
That's a really good question because the two are nothing alike.
mm-hmm.
And I'm going to call it dry lock pads because that's the brand name. The formic acid on the dry lock pads is a lot more like using oxalic acid vapor because it's only going to kill for maybe 2-3 days.
Mm-hmm.
You have to continue to apply it over, 3
It has a
weeks or
quick
whatever.
evaporation.
Yeah, it there's not as much of it as what's in a formic pad, and it'll gas off and be done in about 3 days. The difference between using that method and oxalic acid is that the formic acid on the dry lock pad, I won't say it kills the brood, a lot like you'd get in a 2-pad Formic Pro. It'll kill some brood, but it does pull that queen back, and it either stops her laying or makes them cannibalize eggs or something, but it does pull the brood back a little bit. So if you're doing that over and over again, and in my season, there's never a good time to lose brood because it's such a short season. We need that brood. The only time I can stand to kill some brood is early to mid August. I could stand to do a full 2-pad formic treatment, Formic Pro, and lose that brood and then go into early September with, presumably low mites, because those bees have no purpose. There's honey flow is over.
Mm-hmm.
The colonies are ultra strong. I don't need that brood, and that's about the only time I don't. So, yeah, I didn't do it again this year, particularly because that's what I learned, that I could just as well do oxalic acid vapor,
Mm-hmm.
because I have to do it over and over again, just like formic on a dry lock pad. And I'm not killing brood, so I'm not slowing down the buildup. And in September, I need that brood. And my temperatures are generally acceptable in August to find a time I can use 2 pads of Formic Pro. And on all the treatments that I did, which was only, I can't remember now, I only did maybe 40 treatments or something like that, and not one queen loss. So I can report
How long
that.
does Formic Pro actually last on the? What is his killing radius as far as time wise?
Formic Pro?
Yeah, I've never used it. I've always used Apogard.
Well, if you put 2 pads on, it's a 2-week treatment.
It's a 2-week treatment, whether it's killing for 2 weeks. I know the complaint about, I've talked to Tom and I said, Tom, I can't tell what the weather's going to be 2 weeks out. And he said, you know what, don't worry. So get the forecast for the next 3 to 4 days.
Mhm.
If you're under that temperature or over the minimum, you'll be okay. So I'm taking that to mean that the vast majority of the flash off gas is happening in about 4 days.
Okay.
Probably still some kill, maybe over the next, well,
About 4 to
then there's
5
10
days is
days
what
left, right?
4 to 5 days for what I found. By the second week, that pad is almost like dried up cardboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you go in and weigh them, usually by day 4, the majority of them are spent. And the goal, of course, the 2-pad method is to go beyond the phoretic and to penetrate the wax and get into the brood. So if it is successful of actually permeating the brood, and it needs to be a strong dose to do that, then you're going to have a strong flash over that period.
That brood kill it's important to know though that brood kill is only about 80%. So don't start to think. I don't want anybody to start to think that a 2-pad method is going to kill all the mites in the brood. It's not going to do that. And they say it's about 80% in the brood.
Well, I agree with that. So 2 pads has about 323 grams of formic acid in it. So I mean that's a pretty good bit of formic acid
That's a lot.
A 4 to 5 day period.
So that's over 10 times the amount of formic that I'm putting in my dry lock pad.
It's hot, and of course
10 or 15.
You take a sniff of one of those things. Don't do it. But
you don't need to sniff it, do you? You need to be in the vicinity of it.
You play the song "Take My Breath Away."
I say it's vinegar times 1,000. It's just it's wild.
It'll get your attention.
Yeah.
But it is a really good product, and most of us, I think 95+% of us get into beekeeping because we're interested in the positive aspects to nature and the health food products. And so, I want to use products that are not contaminating my wax, that aren't contaminating the environment, contaminating my honey, any of that stuff. Unfortunately, we do have these pests, and so they still have to be dealt with. But back, I didn't use Apivar for a long period of time because I wanted to avoid that. When I started driving a truck, though, I really needed something that was quick and easy, and a couple of my buddies talked me into it. And back then, I was having really good success with Apivar, and I would drop the required amount of strips when I was back home from trucking, and then I'd come back, 50-something days later, whatever the specs were, and I'd yank them. I had really good success. And during that time, I tried Formic, and I had terrible results. This is with My Way quick strips, but I was probably 20. It was right before we got married, so probably on 2021. So this is about 16, 17 years ago. And I'll be the first to tell you, I was an idiot at beekeeping back in those days. And my wife would tell you I'm still an idiot at beekeeping. So that being said, that really burned me, if you will, excuse the pun, on formic acid. I didn't use it for over a decade after that. I've used it the last 3 years in a row. And if you use it correctly, it does a very, very good job. But like Brad says, you can't expect these products to do more than what they are capable of. And so if you're like trying to bring yourself back from the brink, formic, no product is going to do it, number one. Too many beekeepers in the South are waiting too late to treat. The bees are already perforated with all these holes from,
and
having
your viral load is already there too.
Yeah.
You can't kill the mites and say, oh, well, I'm safe now. No. You have months to go before your bees start to be healthy again because of the viral load that they've been
If
infected
you got a Canadian winter, you can just forget about it pretty much.
That's even worse because they're sequestered, right?
Just take all your lids off, Brad. You'll be all right.
I'll be all right.
So
Tear them out.
What we do in our area, now we have a much longer season than Maryland beekeepers and Canadian beekeepers, but I was going off of old information from the 90s, and I'm like, man, I'm treating and I'm still losing bees. What's going on? But I was one of those beekeepers that was waiting to treat in September, even early September. It's too late. The damage was already being done. And when we started doing that test a couple of years ago on packages and monitoring the mite loads in the packages and then realizing, oh my goodness, just a package in Tennessee from April to the end of September, you can have thousands of mites develop in that period. That was a real eye opener for me. And so now we do 2 rounds of oxalic acid in December. We do a formic acid treatment typically in spring. Hey, Brian. And then we follow up with another treatment in August, because we don't expect any of our products to give us that 95 to 99% kill. If we get that, we're thrilled out of our minds. But I think it's unfair to the products. It's a complicated situation. So we chip away at them throughout the year.
And the consequences are real too. If you just treat with something and you think, oh yeah, I killed them all, and boy, sometimes you couldn't be more wrong. And by the time you realize that that's the case, then it is too late. I think my bees right now look better than they have, I think, in 3 years anyway. And I think that's because heavy use of oxalic acid vapor all through the springtime up to honey flow, and then use of 2 pads of Formic Pro about the second week in August. And I think that really, really helped those bees.
So there's been several people mention about Naroa. What are you guys' thoughts on that at this point?
Have you seen the price?
I can't remember. What is the price?
I can't get past that.
A lot.
Like $25 a colony.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I had considered using it, but it's a syrup that the bees have to consume. That goes down into, they store it. And then when they consume it and the varroa feed on the bee, then that's the method of transmission where it would disrupt the mite's reproduction. My thought now was, okay, well, they were releasing it like October 15th or something like that. I saw they were going to start shipping it. It's tonight we have a low of 34 in Northeast Ohio. So I'm like, am I going to buy a treatment where it's going to freeze? Because we're pretty much wrapped up here. I mean, I'm probably like you, Brad, and the rest of Canada and all that. We're not like, like Cayman, Joey, Brad, I forget where you're at. Todd, you're probably not as cold, but
Louisiana.
Yeah, we're
you're not going to feed syrup now,
Yeah, I mean, it's right now for me in Maryland, it's a high of 60 this week, and then the lows are in the 30s and 40s at night.
Yeah,
it's 40 right now. It's 43 degrees, and it's in the last couple of weeks it turned down. It went from, I'll say, 70s. Now it's in the 60s.
It's 40 here, Charlie. It's 40 here right now.
It's 40.
Oh, he means 40F, Charlie. 40C is like.
It's not 40C.
It's 4C.
Oh, it's 40.
See, I can do the conversion in my head because I'm a Canadian.
He's
grow up that way.
saying it's around 5. Okay.
You can use the other side of his brain too.
I wanted, to be honest, I want new products like that will work, but the release date on that product, I think it hurt a lot of people just because there's no way that it was just too late,
We have to wait 6 months to use it.
Yeah. If I'm going to try it, I may end up getting some next year just to compare, but I think they said it's like an 18-week treatment.
Yeah, and I looked into that, and it's the packaging doesn't stay in there for 18 weeks.
Yeah,
you put the packaging in the hive, and I think it's only for like about a week. They suck all.
It's like a feed pouch.
It's a feeding pouch, is what it is. It's like
the Hive Alive, how they have those little feeding pouches.
Yeah,
it's a hose on the top pouch. You put 2 of those in your colony. The bees consume the syrup, and then when they store it, then when they eat it, when they actually consume it, whatever the product is, I mean, I don't know, Cayman, you might even know the name of the product, that like the active ingredient in it.
It's RNAi is what it
RNAi.
is. And so The idea I think is great. I know some people are like, oh, it's genetically modifying stuff. It's not. It's
No.
just basically cultivating what some
Yeah.
mites already express. So some of them, a small percentage, are just naturally infertile because there's too much expression of this RNAi. And I'm oversimplifying it because I have to be able to understand it. But this so basically they are able to cultivate this, and my understanding is South Korea. It gets put in these bladders, and now our bees take it in. Of course, the mites have to feed on the adult bees before they can go in and then feed on the pupae, and then they're able to reproduce, but they have to feed off of both. If they miss the adults, they can't reproduce. And so if you're successful at getting most of the mites exposed to that, well, then it's going to shut things down for quite a bit. And the nice thing is you're not going to see any brood knockback or anything like that. But the problem of it is, and I just did the math on Man Lake's website. So if you have a strong double deep, you're supposed to use 4 packs. 4 packs, if you purchase their 12-pack option, is about $40 a hive. So
$40 a hive.
$40 a hive. That is a little bit higher than oxalic acid, just a little.
Just a little. I would love that product.
40
If it's
cents.
something to put in my syrup. I'd put it in all my syrup if I could afford, and then they'd
Yeah.
constantly be eating this syrup
Mhm.
that is going to keep the mites from reproducing, because that's what it does, right? It doesn't kill the mites; it keeps them from reproducing.
It just causes them to express more of that gene in their system, or that RNAi. But
So if
Yep.
that was in all the syrup they're eating, syrup they're storing, all winter, all that kind of stuff, and it was effective all winter, boy, that would be nice, wouldn't it? To constantly be eating this treatment that's going to
so
knock my
The other thing, like here
population down.
on the side chat here, Brian Cooper talking about putting in the springtime. Well, if you do that, then you're about the time you're ready to put your honey supers on. You don't want that stuff in your honey supers.
well, I
Well,
guess
you don't want syrup in
on-
your honey supers, so
like I feed my bees in February when they start brooding here, which is way earlier than you guys, but I'm feeding my bees in February. I won't make any nectar until April.
Yeah.
So you could feed it then, but then especially for us in the South who have long dearth periods, my flow's done by the second week of June. And my mite loads usually aren't real bad at that point. We're looking at 1% maybe infestations on average at the high end. And so if I put it in at that point, that helps me out. Of course, a lot of my buddies like Chris, he's in Northern Ohio, he's right in the middle of his honey flow. And so it seems like it really depends on where you're at and what your season's like, how valuable it would be. But at the end of the day, Utah Beeman says, do I have to wait 18 weeks before I can put my supers on? The answer is no. It's just sugar syrup and bladders. The reason that you're not gonna ever see it, I don't think, outside of a bladder, is that originally when it was designed over a decade ago, it was outside of those. And the problem of it is a lot of things cause this stuff to degrade. And if there's any bacteria in your feeders, if there's any fungi in your feeders, it destroys the stuff. And it sounded like light does as well.
a lot of times sunlight kills those treatments too. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And so that's why it has to be in the bladders, is my understanding. It's very sensitive to those things.
Control it that way.
I don't know how many ounces are in each one, but I imagine even with all 4, it can't even be half a gallon, I don't think. And so I don't know how thick it is. Is it pro sweet thick or is it thinner? But if you're feeding it at a time when there's a dearth for a long period, or you have like a month and a half before your supers go on, those bees are going to just use it for brood and burn that right on it.
That's
Yeah,
true.
you just don't want to use it where they could be moving nectar up to a super and start
Yeah.
brooding.
Right. That's what I was concerned about. But like
Man.
you said, it's only a small amount, and they're going to eat it up. About like having, I'll say, maple nectar coming in. You'll never see maple honey.
Well,
You'll use it
you
up.
don't want to feed your bees and have them move syrup in your honey supers anyway. So you're already being careful about that. And honestly, this treatment, it's not going to hurt people, right? So the danger is the same. The danger is just some sugar syrup in your honey.
Yeah,
And you're already careful about that. So I don't see that as being an issue.
The
price-
pouches, it says on Man Lake site, they're pouches of 500 mLs. So if you,
Brad, translate that, please.
Well,
if
that's
you're
half a
putting two
liter, and a
pouches on,
liter
that
is
would be
a
a
little
liter.
more than a quart.
Okay, maybe I said it wrong then. So if
Right.
it's a quart, then it'd be a
So that's
gallon.
a gallon.
The-
4 of them would be a gallon. Well,
Looky there,
Yeah.
get some $40 a gallon feed. I mean, look at you
a
guys.
U.S. gallon is 3,500, just over 3,500 liters. So
Is it really?
milliliters.
Mm.
So 3 of them.
This is why I
would be a
joined
US
Charlie's chat, so I can learn all the Canadian terms and stuff.
And I wasn't meaning to say earlier that Canadians are any smarter than anybody. It's just that we grew up with 2 systems, and so we kind of go back and forth.
So, and see, now he's trying to pretend like he's nicer than the rest of us, like they say.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
First
that I am.
he insults us, then he tries to butter it over.
Smarter and nicer.
That's right.
Next thing he's going
But-
to say, Ian's the best looking YouTuber online.
I'm smarter and nicer, just less diplomatic.
That's right. It's funny. So I've only been to Canada once. I went to Calgary to speak at WAS year before last, and it was great. It was, of course, Alberta, and it was a beekeeper conference. So I'm hanging out with a bunch of beekeepers. Maybe that's why I had such a good time. But they were all super nice. It basically felt like Yankees, just a little bit too far gone. Maybe, I don't know.
Alberta's is probably the most American-like province in Canada.
That's why it felt so good.
It very much is.
No, they were just
Well, it's
super.
kind of Canada's Texas, right? That's Texas. That's the oil.
All the oil and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
so you can kind of extrapolate from there. They're cowboys, they're big summer festivals. The Calgary Stampede. It's all about
Which one is
horses and
Canada's California?
What's that?
I said, which one is Canada's California?
Canada's California would be the Lower Mainland in BC, and fortunately, it's very small.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Hey, don't make fun of my state.
there's a lot of people, but that's our California.
I'll ship over an extra shipment of Varroa your way.
I thought
Instead of seeing
about
the clouds, I see the beehives through a Cessna.
Oh, yeah, I'll seed you some hive beetles.
I figured it'd been
That I don't have.
Brad. I thought it'd been Quebec.
Quebec.
Canada's already got a
Oh no,
small hive.
Quebec is Canada's Louisiana,
Oh yeah.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Right?
Where did all the
That's
French
true.
people move to in Canada that moved up there?
Where did all the what?
Some weirdos in there, huh?
The French people that moved to Canada, where did they move to?
Well, that's Quebec.
Quebec?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Quebec is kind of our Louisiana because y'all talk funny.
Yeah, there's we definitely have some weird Cajuns, and then of course I never heard the Canadian side, and so I worked at I worked over the road for almost 4 years, and then right about before I started the YouTube channel, I started working as a yard switcher, a yard dog. I move trailers from one place to the other for the biggest distributor of Dell computers in the U.S. And of course, we'd have Canadians coming in almost every day to bring, get Dell supplies and take it up north. And a lot of them were French Canadians. And the problem with some of the people from Louisiana, especially the ones from the bayou and the swamp areas, you can't understand anything they're saying. And it's the same way with the Canadians that are French too. It's just a little bit.
I think I have my history corrected. That's where it came from. It all came from the French.
Yeah,
The Cajun came from the French,
Yeah.
right?
The French took and got all the prisoners out of the jails over there and brought them over here and dumped them in the United States. That's what they said in history classes.
No, Charlie.
That's what I heard. That way they cleaned all the jails out over in Europe.
I'm gonna tell you how it went down.
I'm witness to a family feud here.
A lot of the French got ran out of Louisiana.
I feel like Switzerland.
They moved up to Canada, where 90% of the population stayed, and 10% of the population, which is my family, said, "Freak, it's too cold up here. Let's go back to Louisiana."
Well, no,
and you had to move into the swamps because that's why they came into the living in the boat houses and stuff, the houseboats on the bayous and stuff.
I figured they
because
were running from the law down there.
they were running. Yeah, they were running from the invaders of all them freaking rednecks that live in Louisiana now.
No, my history
Oh, no.
is very rusty, especially in your nation. But isn't that what you call Louisiana Purchase? Because France owned everything east of the Rocky Mountains,
Yeah.
like U.S.
Side of the road.
and
But
and
it
then
was during the war that a lot of the French moved up
right.
because they were losing the war. They moved to Canada to get out of the United
But
States.
and at what point? And then France sold all of that to
Oh
America.
yeah,
right?
that was
Yeah,
Are you guys
Peter
sure?
Jackson bought
I didn't
everything.
know the French have ever lost a war. I'm sorry.
Ah,
That's not
The
very
British always come and save their butt.
no. Jeez.
The same thing still happens today.
International now.
It's okay. Well, there's the human condition reigns supreme no matter where you go. Some of us just showcase it a little bit better than others. Most of those people from Ohio. Oh, sorry, Brian. Chris, of course, I'm
going to get Chris on here.
I know. Well, Chris is the best. I couldn't have done a better job finding somebody to help me out. But I always thought my first employee would be a beekeeper, and instead he's like this total analytic. He is a beekeeper too. Don't get me wrong, but his job isn't to take care of my bees. It's to take care of all the analytics and details of the conference, which he does way better than me. And he's awesome. But I have to listen to all this Ohio, the Ohio State, rah, 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 go Buckeyes. Woohoo.
Yeah,
And it's really,
we know. Yeah.
It's sort of like us with the Alabama. We got to hear all that crap all the time.
hey, everyone likes a winner. That's all I was here to say.
Hey, Gaiman.
Yeah.
You got our reject for a coach.
Oh yeah.
No,
we feel like we have a reject.
He was here at Fresno State 3 years ago, and
Okay, gotta go.
I wish somebody would come get our reject coach.
Well, college football has changed so much in the last few years because of the transfer portal and everything. It's crazy. In some ways, it's very frustrating. I don't like the fact that a player can just go, I've decided I don't want to actually.
We should just talk politics and make it interesting.
Well, there we go. Politics. Well, Canadian or American? American politics.
Let's talk about Doug Ford. We could talk about both Canadian and
why
American
don't we talk
politics.
about Ronald Reagan videos?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Wow.
The fool who is Doug Ford.
Well, thanks, DCBs. I am enjoying getting back into the beef a lot more. I haven't done as many YouTube videos, and that's by design. I would like to have a little bit more time to do them, but Laurel's not going to the bee yards with me much anymore, and so I don't have anyone to film the videos.
That's why the production has been poor.
Yeah, there's not as much production. If I'm being honest, I've never enjoyed making a YouTube video.
It's hard though. Whenever you get out there, you get hot and you just don't feel like picking up that camera.
You don't, and well, especially if you have to set it up yourself. I'm really spoiled. Laurel, she'll whip the phone out, and she's able to do such a good job getting the angles, and I can just focus on moving things around and thinking. And
I got
that
a
helps
solution
so
for
much.
you, Cayman.
Oh yeah.
Get yourself one of those 360 cameras, and then it's all done in post. It just takes a picture of everything, and then in post, when you edit it, you can pan and zoom and everything to whatever you want to see in the video that exists already. You don't need a camera person. It just takes a video of everything.
Well, I'm too lazy. I don't edit my videos much.
Well, then you get Laurel to edit them. She doesn't have to do that in the bee yard.
Well, she says no more. Honestly, that was our main. When we hired Chris, it was super exciting because Laurel had been working full time. I've been working full time, and then we were homeschooling our kids, and people don't, unless they saw how we were living. It's like never 0 weekends ever, never do anything with the extended family except maybe Christmas. It was just work all the time, and the kids were getting like the fundamentals, but they weren't getting anything beyond that, and that wasn't okay. And so when Chris came on board, Laurel whenever we have like a big decision to make, like this audio visual, she's definitely in on it. She has a lot of great ideas, but she's not doing much of the beekeeping. She does help when we really need her to. She does bottle honey and stuff. And but I'm trying. Her and I, Kathleen's 13, almost working on 14. Jimmy just turned 10. We've got to make sure that we focus on the great, which is our kids, and not the good, which is beekeeping. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. So she's making sure that happens. I'm trying to fool with the bees as much as possible, but I need to hire somebody for the bees. I had somebody hired on. He lasted about a month and a half. I think his words were, I want more of an 8 to 5 job. Beekeeping isn't that. We were loading bees till midnight some nights, and just how it is.
It's
and
farming.
So it's farming, and sometimes things break down, and they like to do it when you least want them to. And so if I could find somebody that could help me work bees, I would probably run 300 colonies. As we are right now, Laura and I have been talking about it, because I'm getting so involved with industry related stuff. I think I'm going to have to reduce down to like 60 hives. I mean, that's right now, that's the plan.
It's really hard. It's hard to get somebody. It's hard to really expect anybody but the beekeeper to be passionate enough about it to want to put up with that kind of a workload and work schedule. And that's the reality of it, right? We do it because we're fully invested in it, right? And it's kind of what we do, and we're hooked, and we love it, but we hate it. But when it's an employee, they don't have that much, as much buy-in, rightfully so. And so for them to actually have that kind of passion for it is not likely going to happen. And for us to expect them to have that much passion for it is not reasonable.
Well,
It's a tough place to be.
Yeah, one thing, your kid, like you said, your kids are 10 and 14. Right now is crucial.
Yep.
In it with your family like that, you need to spend as much time with those 2 kids as much as possible.
That'll be gone in 10 years.
That's right.
Cayman, I traveled for work for, a good number of years. And I racked up in 8 or 9 years for the traveling that I did. I racked up almost 2,300 nights stayed in hotels.
That's too many.
That was too many.
Like 2,000.
It was a lot. I mean, there were some years where I was 300 nights in a hotel. And do not miss that time with your kids. That's the important thing. There's once they're grown, it's different. But those teenage years they're just so important. They are.
And they're Kathleen, she's doing a horse, because Laurel's been able to take a back seat. We've been able to do some things that we don't want to spoil our kids, but if anything, we've done the opposite, where other kids already have cell phones their age, which I'm not a big fan of that idea anyways, and that's part of the comfortable. But just we don't want to spoil them, but we really don't. Fun is going over to Papa and Graham's house and hanging out with the cousins and eating some food, and maybe there's some Nerf guns or some, my parents have a creek that runs through the property. They go soak, and maybe we take a trip to the river, but that's free. If we do something really crazy, we may, go to the zoo on the way to speak at a gig or something like that. Like I've gone with Tom Sostman and their group a couple times in the Missouri Beekeepers Association. Of course, a lot of our family things tie into going somewhere like that. And so it's like, all right, we'll go to the St. Louis Zoo. Oh, I'm speaking in Florida. Let's go ahead and drive, and we'll stop by the manatee place and do all this educational stuff. Maybe we'll get our toes in the water. But now that they're starting to get older, they're wanting to develop their own skills, which my parents allowed me to do. That's how I got into beekeeping. I started at 14. I was into ag by around 12. And if my parents wouldn't have nurtured and fostered some of that stuff, I wouldn't be talking to you guys. So I'm like, I don't want to be selfish and focus on my stuff and not allow them to have that. So Laurel being able to take off from all this stuff, the kids are now going to horse riding lessons. Jimmy's about got him finished through his hunter safeties course, and so we're fixing to go slay Bambi here shortly.
Oh, awesome.
And we've got my dad's got 83 acres. We're very fortunate, and so he's about 3 miles as the crow flies. And since we have to go around the river, it takes us about 14 minutes to get there. But we get down there, and it's just gorgeous. But there's a big difference in northern deer and our deer. Like, I hit a deer on the way to Wisconsin. It just about took my truck out. Down here, we hit a deer, and it's like, dang it, I'm gonna have to pull
There you
down.
go, Cayman.
That's like not fair. The body on that thing's like
Massive,
bigger than ours. And
yeah, that deer right there. When that one, I've got a plot set up there. I got one a 7-point already this season, and it was shot about 150 feet from my beehives.
Well, don't want it to knock one over or anything. So
exactly, I was just protecting my bees. That's all I was doing.
Yeah. So Clay Booner says, with the spotlight, no, that's Arkansas stuff. We actually have skill but my dad is like, the way I feel about beekeeping, like, that's my thing. And that's been kind of a point of conversation with my dad, because my dad loves to hunt. His dream job would be working for Realtree and going on like these hunts and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, no.
He would just absolutely love that. Me, fortunately, I'm able to do my dream job, which is work with beekeepers and do bee stuff. And so he's like, why aren't you going hunting on Saturday? I'm like, well, I'm speaking with some beekeepers, or I'm working bees this weekend, or whatever. He's like, but you can do that any other day of the week. I'm like, but I like it. And I am really excited, because I've finally gotten to a point where I can consistently produce bees and make it profitable. And I've tried for the better part of 2.5 decades to do that. So I'll be turning 37 here in just a few days. And it's hard to believe that I've been beekeeping this long, but frankly, I can't hardly remember. And so for me, I'm going to my parents' place where I currently have 80 or 90 colonies over there, something around that number. And we're condensing them down. I've actually learned a lot from the Canadians. I can't believe I'm admitting this. But I like the idea of condensing these hives that aren't really strong doubles. And so we're condensing them down into a single brood chamber. These are the ones from Wisconsin. They don't have any brood to speak of. They're finished brooding. And so we're packing them down, and we're putting a frame feeder in the side, because they were pretty light. And I fed them with 4 gallons of 2-to-1 in the last week. They've chugged it all down. I'm fixing to feed them again, get them up to weight. But you open up those lids, and it looks very similar to Ian's colonies, where it's just you can't hardly see the frames on most of these. And that's the way that I want it. In Tennessee, we don't have the winters that you guys do, and so it's much easier. Those bees will be definitely brooding by February. But what I found is when I condense those down, they don't need as much food, but then they're able to rear the brood so much better on that first round in February, because they can just really control that temperature better. So unless it's just a stupid, powerful colony, we just take that second box off and we store it. And this time of the year, we're almost past the point of wax moss being an issue. So it's mainly just keeping the mice out. Todd is fasting.
I haven't fed Tommy the tapeworm yet, and I'm really on the edge of my seat. I'm gonna have to do something about dinner. I haven't eaten dinner yet. It's 7:30 over here.
Jeez.
Oh, okay. It's only 7:30. I thought he was on Central Time like I am. I'm like, it's 9:30. You haven't eaten dinner yet, man. It's too late for you. You're gonna ruin your sleep.
He's on the left coast.
He's out on the west. He's out in California.
The left coast. See, this guy gets it. Now,
well, I'm gonna hit the road. I have to eat. I'm starving. I'm starving, Marvin.
We're glad you stopped in, Todd.
Yeah, good to see you,
Marvin.
Yeah, starving Marvin. Starving Marvin.
Howdy ho, Todd.
Howdy ho. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
See
All
you
right.
tomorrow.
Bye bye.
Maybe over time that RNAi product will go down on price. I just don't see how it can stay up there. Maybe, but you never know. I mean, there's people that are spending $800 on a flow hive. And if it works as good as they say it does, and you get control for 18 weeks, that's what, 4.5 months. Yeah, I mean, so some people, especially those rich Californians that don't eat dinner, is he on? He said left coast. Is he actually in California?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's out. He's close to Fresno.
okay.
Yeah.
That's California is such a beautiful state. It really is. I've been over there a few times now. I've always enjoyed the scenery. Of course, I always head for the country though, because
They need more people like him over there.
yeah.
Hmm.
Well, it seems like there's a pretty decent bit. And when you go to those country areas again, it's like when you go to Oregon, you go to the east side, all the farm and rancher side of Oregon, and the folks are just super nice. The ladies, just like they are in Tennessee, if you haven't eaten, they're going to feed you. If you have eaten, they're still going to feed you. And that's why we're all probably in the trouble that we're in. But
Say no more. I'm there.
hey, it's how we like it. When we moved here from Tennessee, it was really surprising because my dad grew up with that being down in Alabama, but I hadn't experienced that. We moved to Gainesboro and this small little town, and there was 3 ladies, and I think 2 of them were widowed and one of them had never married, and they were living together in this house without air conditioning at church. And they grew most of their food, hung up their clothes on the line, and the culture change just in the last 20 odd years is so significant because we've lost so many boomers and people from that era of remembering the Great Depression and all of that. But during that time, we still see some of it, but it's definitely less and less by the year. We would have dinner on the grounds every 4th Sunday. And so you'd have your regular church service, and then afterwards you'd have a singing, and all the rest of the churches would come in that were locally would come in. You have like 4 or 5 others represented. So these churches typically only have maybe 60 people, but all of a sudden now you've got like 200 odd, maybe 300. And then all of these ladies and gentlemen, a lot of them grew their own food. They'd bring all of these homemade meals. And I mean, you would just eat until you'd explode. Of course, I was in my teens at this point, so I was in paradise. And I actually could eat food back then. Like my metabolism, I ate 10 hot dogs in one day at 18. So, I mean, if I did that now, I mean, that'd be the end. I mean, I couldn't do it. But that's the culture in Tennessee that we used to have. And literally, it was ridiculous. The women would just feed you until you just nearly died. It was awesome. What about you, Joey? What's with like the mustache? Like you've always had facial hair that I can remember, but we've actually got like we've taken it up a few notches.
Yeah, just kind of did that, see what would happen.
Oh, we all see what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Get some bear fat and just
Yeah.
I
That's
heard he
awesome.
was developing his own mustache wax.
One of them curls up, and the other one wants to go down.
I would really like to try growing a thick beard, but that was like, so Laurel, when we married, her family wears head coverings. She doesn't anymore. And that was kind of the thing. I'm like, I just really would prefer not to do that. So she's like, all right, if I don't do the head covering, you're not growing a beard. I'm like, what? That's kind of like what guys do, that can grow beards. So she's like, not my guy. So this is about as far as I can get it before she starts getting the sickle out and threatening me. So
I just started mine again.
So I looked at your profile, and I had never seen any pictures of you without a beard, and so that I can recall. And so I looked at your profile and saw some pictures from a few years ago. I'm like, man, he was really clean shaven at that point. But now I can't really. I'm not sure I could deal with you without the beard. Brian. I'm just too used to it.
My wife hates it.
Oh, does she? Well,
Yeah. She says it's like kissing on a Brillo pad.
Laurel doesn't like.
It's funny how people perceive things. Years ago, when I first went to work at the prison that I retired from, I had a beard. I always had a beard.
Prison stories.
And several years in to being there, I shaved my beard off but kept my mustache. And about 2 or 3 weeks after I shaved that beard off, a guy said, I just figured out, I knew something was different about you. I said, what is it? He said, you growing a mustache. I said,
Yeah.
no, I shaved my beard.
That's not right. We had a pretty good group of guys growing up, and I don't see them much these days. Some of them actually helped me at the conference. One of them's Clayton, one of them's Josh, and one of our other close friends is Dave. And he actually, funny enough, works out of Louisville at the UPS, the main hub they have there as a driver. But Dave's redheaded and super hardworking, smart guy, but poor guy can't grow facial hair to save his life. He's just too fair. And Clayton always keeps himself shaved, but that guy, if he grew his beard out, a grizzly bear would be jealous. I mean, that guy's got more hair follicles per square inch than anybody. But poor Dave, and it's funny because poor Dave over here is just begging. He's buying product, just trying to get this thing to grow. This guy over here shaving every day so he doesn't have a 5 o'clock shadow, and it's just it's hilarious. And then we go to Dave's wedding, and we're all getting ready, and he takes his shirt off, and he doesn't have any chest hair either. I mean, it's like Dave is 6'6". It looked like a giant 12-year-old is what it looked like. It is pretty interesting how it works out. But my brother Ethan, I think maybe some of you guys, if you ran into him at the conference, he kind of looks like me, but a little uglier and hairier. And he's a really good bit of help.
Poor guy.
You got say what?
Hairier, I can imagine, but
Uglier, yeah. So if you
must
guys
be
don't-
horrific.
carried away with that one.
he's quite the musician and very good at a lot of different things. But he runs the workshops. He actually might be doing one of our rooms audio visual this year. Because we're looking into all the options that we have, trying to keep costs down. Because you were in here, Brian, but they sent me the bill, like $111,000 for audio visual for the conference this year.
What?
And I know. Last year I paid a little under 50. It was like 49.51 after tax.
I need to go into audio visual.
Well, I was about to tell you earlier about that, and the subject got changed. You could probably get you some of these younger DJs and hire about 3 different companies of them to set up in each room instead of one big company.
And we're going to have to get creative. I just wish we had found out before today, because we're running out of time to a degree on some of these logistics. We have the time. It's just the pressure. And
funny.
The thing of it is, like the cameras and stuff, they got some, heavy hitter type cameras.
they are really good. I didn't like paying them as much as we did. It was a big upgrade from our former days at calling ourselves something else that we don't say anymore. Brian, say it for me. Yeah, say it for me, Brian.
Voldemort.
Voldemort. No, the other one. Hive Life. And so I can say it. I'm just messing. So, back in those days, the first 2 years, we had one room. I had a company come in that I knew that did bluegrass sound, and it wasn't very good. And it was honestly the number one complaint that we had besides the food situation. And, we can't make everybody happy, but we're trying. And so, but that was $2,000 for those one guys for one room. And all of a sudden we went to needing multiple rooms and multiple options, and it got a little more expensive. Then we jumped to the Bee Expo, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my goodness, This is more than I've paid for all of my vehicles combined almost. Oh, I missed what was said. Somebody was making fun
Oh,
of
that was Tom and Melissa. They're Eastern Missouri. They had a hike of 34% this year.
costs for our conference too. Yeah, that's probably because Tom bought stuff and he wasn't supposed to. So is that what you mean? Because I know you guys hauled a bunch of stuff back, and I can't help that. That's Tom is not my brother, and I am not his keeper.
Now I think the hauls went up, the food went up, a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh.
Just crazy.
What'd you say, Charlie? It kind of like glitched a little bit.
I say Tom was saying that for the Eastern Missouri Conference, the rooms went up, the food went up. It jumped 34% this year compared to what it was last year.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, the way that these events work, it doesn't, even if there was zero inflation, they're still going to add 5% or 10% on things every year. That's just the way these companies work. It's frustrating. But like this year, the Expo Center said, we're going to increase things by like 5+%, which doesn't sound like a lot unless you're paying $80,000, and then 5% is a decent chunk of change. And it's not like the end of the world, but and then of course, flights and hotels, everything seems to continue to go up to a degree. But then when I go from $50,000 in audiovisual to 111 for the same exact service, that's not inflation.
That's robbery.
Somebody's trying to get rich really quick.
Yeah, that's seeing you coming. That's what that is.
And so we're looking. There's several other options around Louisville. Those guys did such a great job, though, and that's where we didn't want to change. And we're like, it's a little bit more of an investment, but the audio is so crisp. The visuals on the screen's really great. The lighting's good. It looks very professional. We're not used to that, so we like it. And now we're having to figure it up again. And the caterers also this year, we've been using Levy out of Louisville for all of our food logistics, like our coffee buyout, and because we have to buy that out and stuff like that. You can't just go in there and serve coffee. And we're still waiting. We were supposed to get it already, but we're still waiting to find out who these people are. So I don't know if the coffee buyout's going to be $20,000 or if it's going to be $2,000 or what. So it's not all sunshine and roses. We are very thankful, don't get me wrong. The conference is a lot of fun in a lot of ways, but really the worst part is dealing with these groups, because they can do whatever. Last year in December, our decorators hijacked us and took away our forklift privileges because I called them out on the lie, because they said we couldn't have 16-foot aisles. So we like the 16-foot aisles so that people can get through product a little bit easier, but also you can, let's say Tom wants to cause a ruckus again, Sauceman, of course, and he wants to sit by, I don't know, the Nature's Image Farm booth and talk. That's perfectly fine. But the problem of it is, if you have a 10-foot aisle, you start getting people on this side hanging out, these people on this side. Now you got a really thin area, and that's a problem. So 16 makes a lot of sense, but they didn't want to do 16 for whatever reason. And they said the fire marshal codes won't allow us. So I looked it up, contacted the Expo Center and said, is this an issue? I'm like, nope, no issues with us. And then I said, well, here's the emails from them, and they got upset. And so that's why we didn't have any forklifts last year. Some of the companies were a little ticked off, and some of the attendees who were hoping not to have to hand bomb all the stuff into their trucks were a little disappointed. I have confirmed we have a forklift buyout for this year. That's already been solidified. We do have a forklift this year. So if anyone's getting a pallet of stuff, it'll be fine. Coffee has gone up since 50% last year. Has it really?
It has.
Crazy.
Coffee has been on the rise.
I figured your costs would go up since you got off the New Year's Eve weekend, which is not the poplars, to do anything.
Well, actually, we were hoping it was going to go down, and it did in some ways, because I was having to pay time and a half and double time for some of those days for the holidays, and we didn't like that. And of course, There were some other holiday related issues. Trying to get all of our staff in around the holidays was tough, and so that's why, of course, we moved. But I don't think. I think it's cheaper in some regards, but that's not saving me $60,000 on audio visual, nothing like that.
That's for sure. Yeah, that's a,
So with the 16-foot aisles, you said the fire marshal didn't want that?
So the decorator said that it wasn't up to fire marshal codes, and they were given all these excuses and stuff. So I reached out to the fire marshal, reached out to the expo center, and said, hey, this is literally what we did the first year. Why can't we do it this second Bee Expo? And they said, oh, there's no problem. As long as, you're not close to this pillar here, this over here, it doesn't violate any fire marshal codes. And so I sent that back to her, and they did not like it very much. And they tried to back out of their contract too, for a little bit. But that was in December. I was really concerned we were going to have to figure something like a new venue out. It was getting that heated with the decorators, because unfortunately, when you sign that contract, you're locked in with them, and it's a little tricky. But I learned a lesson from that, and so we're a lot more careful who we work with and also what we sign in the contract, so flippantly. So other than that, it's really easy to run one of these things. I highly recommend it. If you do it long enough, when I started my first conference, I was nearly 6 foot tall, and I've worn myself down to about 5.5, and it just keeps wearing me down each year.
So you've become a liar too, then, huh?
Yeah, I know. I've never been a centimeter over 5'6".
It's almost like being in politics anyway.
Well,
yeah, I can remember that first year you were down there. You were the trash man, the MC.
yeah. It was wild.
You were hustling and running from one thing
You're
to the
talking
next.
to a group of beekeepers. How hard could it be?
How hard could it be? Well,
Yeah.
and honestly,
How
I
hard
think
could it be? We're all
that really
beekeepers.
helped me
We're all
out.
battling a losing battle anyway.
And I think there's a lot to that. It was just like, well, I've done bees. It can't be any harder than that. But a lot of it, we just were idiots. We had no clue what we were doing. And we kind of got so far into it, we kind of had to just make it work somehow. And we get to the conference and we're like, oh, yeah, we don't have a staff member on trash duty. Oh, yeah, we don't have anybody communicating to the expo when to turn the lights on and when to turn it off. Oh, yeah. Who's the communication between the paramedics and us so we can get a hold of them rapidly? Because someone just threw up in aisle 2. And, so we've been very fortunate that beekeepers are pretty forgiving. I could write a book on all the stuff behind the scenes that's happened. Some of it's quite funny and some of it's frustrating, but it's all interesting. And most of the biggest issues I've had have come from Bruce Jenny. He's a disruptor by nature, and it causes problems everywhere he goes.
That's his nature.
Yeah. I've got to just say thanks to so many people that have helped us out, because really with the expo, we're now up to about 40 staff, and it's a lot of work. Some of these guys work the whole show, and they really seem to enjoy it. So I'm very thankful for that. But the bigger that we've gotten, gosh, the more stress it has caused to a degree, just because there's more. And then we're also getting international interest, and we're having to physically remove Pakistanis and Chinese who haven't paid to be there, that are giving away product and doing things they're not supposed to, and taking pictures of other vendors, which, that's not a big deal as much. I mean, we can't keep everybody out if they buy a ticket, but these people aren't buying anything. They just show up, and we kick them out of the front door, and then they show up at the back door. And then, so last year, yeah, we did have to get some cops out and get them to remove some people. So that's the kind of stuff like that bothers me.
What are they there for?
They're there primarily to get people to buy their Chinese woodenware, their Chinese this or their Chinese that, or to get someone like Dadant or Man Lake to carry their stuff too. Maybe they sell high.
So they're there to mix with the contractors there, the venue.
Most of them. And a lot of them want a booth, and we deny a lot of them because one, like we sold all of our space out this year, and unfortunately we had to turn away some good companies too, but we just couldn't get any more space. But a lot of there's a company in Florida, for example, and it's run by an American, but they were wanting to bring in loaded frames with wax foundation that were wired. And I was like, oh, cool. There's some people that might like that. But I'm like, wait a second, how is this price so cheap? Sure enough, it's Chinese frames and Chinese beeswax. And I'm like, no, we're not going to do it because there's too much fraud dealing with that kind of stuff. And, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody who owns this stuff, but we just continue to learn more and more about the Chinese stuff. And like with the Hoover hives and the merger hives and the bee castle hives, castle, whatever, bee castle, we've now had a PhD who's done research on that wax. And of course they say it's beeswax. It's not. It's not even like the paraffins that are food grade, like, often sold in Canada. We get the wax we use comes from Canada, and that all goes through like Food and Drug Administration down here before, it can be touching boxes. This is like the wax that comes up when they pump for oil, and it's just a wax that is in the oil fields. And I think it's one of the things they've used, like they refined it and they make Vaselines and stuff. And so the problem of it is we don't know if they refined it or not. And we also don't know, what we do know is that the bees will actually take it and they will mix it with things. And so they'll take some of that wax and they'll mix it with propolis to pack stuff. And that wouldn't be such a problem if it was like just the edges of the boxes. But of course, bees use propolis in the cells as well. And eventually that ends up in the chain. And so the Chinese, it's just hard to trust them when they lie so often. That's just really what it comes down to.
Wasn't those people handing out flyers all down by the gate and everything?
Yeah, bags, flyers, and we had told them, thanks for your submission, but we really don't want you there. And I think all they carried was hive tools, a couple, just your standard.
Don't mention Chinese hive tools on this channel.
No, we have
there's someone that's very allergic to Chinese hive tool on this channel.
I'm missing something here.
Blood pressure just went up.
We don't mind, Ian.
You got to watch Brad's videos. He's allergic to Chinese hive tools.
I'm not allergic, but I have a
hive tools
deep,
that are allergic
deep
to Brad.
hatred for them.
Only Max and hive tools make the grade.
Wow, those are some tough tools. Now
you better check those too.
the Dadant tool, the traditional red Dadant hive tool actually is made in the USA, and I've got some, and they are really nice. I like them, but yeah, we ordered actually for the previous conference. we ordered 1,200 hive tools or something stupid like that. It was over 1,000, and they didn't. What's the term for it when you heat it up one more time to make it hard?
Temper.
Temper. Thank you. They didn't do it, and so all of these you could take them and just go.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, 1,200 hive tools completely useless.
My retailer knows what I look for in a hive tool, and quite often I go in there. So we got a new hive tool we're going to show you, and the answer is always the same. If I can't bend it, I will buy it.
I didn't realize this was such a problem for Brad.
A hive tool that I liked from the conference last year was the Hive IQ hive tool. I bought one of those.
That's a very strong hive tool.
It works great. I like the feel of it.
Care for the design of how the hook is, but it's a beautiful hive tool with the polished stainless.
Yeah,
and it's very strong.
If they back again, I'm gonna buy another one. I like those.
Which hive tool is this?
The Hive IQ.
Oh, yeah, those are made in Canada too, I'm told. So that's actually, yeah, they
Are they?
Yeah, so of course it's an Australian company, but They have them made in Canada, so that's a
Just-
Canadian
just
hive
the-
tool that
The
you're
weight and the feel of it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
easy on the hands whenever you working your boxes and stuff.
They brought in a hive tool. I think you probably say it Hero because I think it's Portuguese, Jero. So I assume it's called Hero, and extremely strong. My favorite hive tool now,
Where do you get
because I do use the paint scraper style. I call them like the traditional one. But just managing a hive, I've always used a J hook, and that's what I'm comfortable with. So that's what I kind of look for in that. And these Hero hive tools, boy, they're beautiful and they're strong and they're a good size too. A really nice size hive tool.
Yeah, I haven't seen one of those.
Dancing Bee carries them here.
Oh, really? Of course,
Yeah.
they're actually going to be doing multiple workshops at my show this year. I'll have to
Are
make sure they bring some to the U.S. I might need to get one. I just love hive tools in general. But
There's actually a guy here I know who actually started manufacturing the hive tools. That it's again a J hook. He changes the J a little bit from say the Maxon style. It's a much smaller J. His hook goes in and is much thinner. So, but it's an extremely strong hive tool as well. It's a bit more money though.
But you know, as long as you don't plant the hive tool, it'll last.
Keep
forever.
track of them. I mean, it's a tool, right?
The
And
problem
I always say, if you go to a bee yard without a hive tool, you're a spectator because there's really not much you're going to do without a hive tool. So
the one thing with the J hooks that I do not like is, you know, they can be so thin in the back where they sit on the frame, and if you're cranking hard, it crimps that ear of the frame on the top bar.
especially a plastic. I've gone right through the plastic ears. Just no.
Well, not all of us have your
good.
strength, Brad. So I've
Well,
never done plastic.
Well, that's the problem. I stick it in a box and I give it a good crack, and it just bananas on me.
I don't have those problems.
Here's Cayman standing on the hive tool and it's like, nope, good to me.
No, I actually have stood on a hive tool before. I really have. But I was testing it out to see how good it was. And of course, it once the box actually finally gave, I nearly broke my neck, but it was a long way down. So there's a couple comments. Of course, Ian says he's in his jammers, which really scars my brain to think about. Coda Vista says some nice things about the conference and that we screen the vendors, and thank you for the kind words on that. We want the show to be quality. We don't want it to turn into a flea market. And I really did enjoy Appomondia, but that was the one thing I'm like, there's like a third of this trade show that would never be at mine. I don't like to look at, well, for example, the Instant Vap vaporizer, and I like those. There's other good vaporizers out there though, besides the Instant Vap, but it's my personal favorite. But when I'm at like Appomondia and I'm looking at multiple vendors that have identically knocked off the Instant Vap, and they're wanting to come to my show. And what really frustrates me is now one of our American companies have brought them in from one of those Chinese vendors and is trying to get them sold all through the US. And there's people having problems with them. I actually was talking to Dancing Bee, and they're having people up in Canada where these things are already breaking down on them, or, you know, it's a high pressured unit. So if a vaporizer doesn't work properly, it could explode. So
dangerous.
But
So they're bringing in Chinese knockoff instant vaps.
Not Dancing Bee, but yes, there's a guy here.
But somebody.
Yeah, Southeast Bee Supply actually. If you've seen the plastic Enel hives and the Savan extractors, they import those things, and now they're importing under a different brand called Shamrock instead of Savan, and under that they have multiple, just everything's the same. And with their vaporizer, it is cheaper, but it looks like it's made with pot metal too. So there is that. But the problem of it is when the marketing looks like you're buying an instant vap and you're not. And what really bothers me too is that what I love about Janos, where he's different than a lot of the other guys, is that this guy is constantly critiquing his own stuff. Like,
Yes.
This version is good, but man, we can make it better. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good, but oh, we can make it better. And he just keeps going. And now he's in Hungary. I personally, if I was a betting man, I think that guy's going to have a treatment for AAA lapse sooner than anybody. I could be wrong. I think he's going to be a player in that game, and I think he's just smart, hardworking, and thankfully, the instant VAP has been so successful for him. He now has the financial means to actually do something of that scale. And so that's what frustrates me even more than just knocking off someone else's product, is that now you're pulling money from somebody's invention
Mhm.
that could be using that money to develop the next.
Confusing the customer. Customer thinks they're getting the, the quality unit and
Yeah.
maybe somehow getting a deal, not realizing they're not buying what they think they're buying. You know, that's a shame. And you talk about Janos. I love the guy too, and I think he is an absolute genius. I think this guy is so incredibly intelligent, and not only that, but he is so humble.
Mhm.
The humility of this guy when I talk to him, just incredible. Uh, you know, if I was that intelligent, I might not be as humble as he is.
Oh, I know a
I
lot
don't
of
think I'm as
people
humble as he is. Period.
I know a lot of people who aren't intelligent who think they're smarter than he is. But, I actually got to meet him in Copenhagen. That was one of the most exciting parts of the trip until I actually met him in person and realized he's like 6'5". Why do all of my new acquaintances have to be so tall?
So I could look him right in the eye.
That's right. And I'm just like, he's like, it came in, how about we get a picture together? I'm like, how about we don't? Or how about you sit?
Well, we can get a milk crate for you, Cayman. No problem.
That's right. And of course, then Korhan with Apame comes over, and Korhan's probably 6'4". And they're both like, hey, let's get a picture, Cayman, because they know what they're doing. And they're like, here, you sit between the two of us. And it's all in good fun. But no, Giannis is such a gifted person. And I'm excited to see what he does next. And I like to see good people win. And Giannis is one of those good people.
Amen.
But I don't like people profiting off of others' work. And so we literally sent a video out, and this is where it gets a lot more complicated. I have to have these talks with the vendors, because in the past I've just been kind of a friend with people. I like go to the conferences and like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, let's try a review on your product or something. Now as the guy that's running the conference, sometimes I have to lay law down, and I don't enjoy it because it kind of changes the dynamic of the friendship sometimes. But I told all of the companies that were his dealers, I just sent it to all the companies, said, hey, anyone who's selling this product, either do not bring it to the show. If you do, you'll be removed immediately. That's how we feel about this. We've got to support the few inventors that we have in this industry and at the Bee Expo, any of you guys that create a product, we are going to defend that too. Now, there's a lot of things that happen that you can't patent. For example, you can't extractors at this point, you can't patent those unless you create something very unique on the extractor. Maybe you could patent that, but I can't build an extractor and then patent it. It's too broad. And so most things don't fall under that category, but the instant VAP definitely does. And most people were pretty reasonable about it. But our trade show, we're extremely serious about having a quality show. We really try not to have a flea market vibe about it. And we're also really concerned, people come and like Tom and others, they spend a lot of money. And I don't want them to have a bad experience. We had that happen 2 times. And 2 of the companies that are banned from our show are actually US companies. And so it's not just, hey, they're Chinese or they're Pakistani or they're from this country or that country. It's mostly if they're Canadian. I mean, if they're doing bad stuff, sorry. No, we actually had over 120 Canadians last year. I was really happy about that. And this year, we're actually going to have some Canadian flags in there.
Why?
Well, there's people like Brad that are easy to offend. We got to cater to them.
You bring the rainbow flag out, and I'm out.
Me easy to offend? You really don't know me very well.
I just messing with you, Brad.
Unless that means it's easy for me to offend people, that's believable.
Yeah,
That
I can
definitely
believe that.
happens. That
No,
definitely happens.
this is the North American Honeybee Expo, and so the Canadian flag should be there, the way I see it. Obviously, it's going to be held in the U.S. indefinitely because that's where I live. But we have several Canadian companies. I think I have 9 or 10 this year, and then we have, like I said, 120 plus last year of Canadians, and we're also opening up. Well, we're working on it. I'm hoping to have it completed soon. But the North American Honey Bar, and I'll give props where it's due. We got this idea from Appomondia. It was really engaging. They had their global honey bar, and you could go try honey from Switzerland, or you could try it from Sweden, Bulgaria. You could try heather honey, which I was really excited to get to try heather honey for the first time. That was pretty wild stuff. Mostly the consistency. And then you could try Chinese honey, but I felt like if I wanted to try that, I could go to Walmart, so I didn't bother. So that's not very nice. I'm sure there's some really good Chinese beekeepers out there. But so we want to have the North American Honey Bar, and we want to have all the provinces represented and all of the states, and people can come up and sample various honeys from different states and various provinces and stuff like that. So that would be a nice feature to add this year, and I think that would be cool. So we want to have a Canadian flag.
I want to point out that when Appomondia was in Montreal here in Canada a few years ago, the winner of the honey contest, whatever they call that, the best honey in the world came from just west of me in Manitoba.
Did it really?
You betcha.
Well, it couldn't have been canola.
Well, it's not. I'm not the beekeeper, so I can't say what it is.
Ian might still be on here, so I got to throw a canola dig. But
there's nothing makes a smoother, beautiful set creamed honey than canola.
That is
texture wise. Canola is your honey, as far as creamed honey goes.
You know, I've never creamed honey before. I've never made it. I'm really boring, honestly, when it comes to like the beekeeping things that I've done with the actual products from the hive.
Me too.
We just sell all.
Boom.
Yeah, just we get it. Sell a 5-gallon bucket, $4.25 a pound. Put it in a jar, $6 a pound. Wholesale everything. Just get it out of there. But I don't have to go into any markets or anything. And I prefer to sell bees. I enjoy making bees. That's the fun part. So Mike is in the comments.
Todd comment there. He's a fan of my creamed honey. He's had that.
I'm sure it's good. The Canadian honeys are good. I'm quite confident. I think here in the United States, there's a huge demand for learning how to cream honey. We're actually looking for some experts to give some talks on how to cream honey and the logistics behind it. So any experts in here?
I know some experts in that.
In creamed honey, that would be Flower Street.
Flowers.
Yeah, Brian Zavada.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking to a few people about it, but we're looking at like maybe workshops or maybe a lecture.
Brian's the one. He's going to be talking at EMBA too.
Oh, yeah? That. Well, he needs to send me something so I can, get a feel for it. If he gets up there and,
Come on in, Brian.
He's in here.
Are they still going to have the honey swap this year?
Yes, we will.
How do you go about getting as far as into that?
So as far as like you bringing it, or
yeah.
So essentially, we'll have a designated area. It's always been run by Honeybee Tennessee, and there'll be signage right outside the door. It's actually not too far from the silent auction and the lecture halls. It's just right across. There'll be a sign. But basically, let's say do you know which size jars you're going to do if you do it?
Probably the smaller ones.
Yeah. So let's say, I think, what is the amount you can bring? 24, 30, something like that. I can't remember on the website there should be.
Yeah, I think it's 24.
24. So you just bring that, drop it off on Thursday or Friday morning, and then they'll go around and they try to get you they do a good job of mixing it up. Like, where are you from? Louisiana?
Yes.
So they're not going to probably try to get you any Louisiana honey because you're from there. So they're going to get you the best honey from Tennessee, and then they're going to also get you some other stuff, maybe some Canadian honey, get some West Coast honey, get you some New England honey, spread it around a little bit. And sometimes we'll get people from other countries besides Canada to come in, and so they'll mix it up.
The reason I wanted to do it this year, because last year, just from walking around the expo and meeting people, they like gave me samples of their honey, from the people I knew. And that was one of the things my wife loved the most when I came home and brought all those different honeys to her, because she loves honey in her coffee and stuff. And I said, well, they have a honey swap. I said, maybe next year I can get into that and get you some more different flavors and stuff. Because she liked tasting out the different styles of honey.
It's so fun, and people really should pay a little more attention to the honey show too, because there's some really unique stuff in there. Unfortunately, not everybody gets to try them. I'm going to give one of my buddies a plug. There's several good honeys that show up to our show, but this hot honey from one of the guys that works as my staff for like every year that we've had it, Josh Hager, makes this hot honey right here. And it's not just hot, it's also got a really good flavor to it. And that's awesome. So what do you got there, Joey? Some creamed honey?
That's my creamed honey. I don't do flavors. I just do regular creamed honey.
And is there something like you're buying seed from it, or do you use some of your own stuff, or how are you able to get there?
Actually, I think the seed I got came from Greg Dunn, but I think he actually started with some of mine, but I'm not sure. So I don't know. But it's real smooth.
We have a gentleman here who's helped me at my conference pretty much every year too, by the name of Barry Brown, and he gets some canola honey brought in, and there you go. I think Flower Street Brian has given me some of that before, and I've just forgotten. Yep, that's right. I've had some of those that he's given me, and we had already burned through them because it was good. But Barry lets it go to crystal real hard, and then he takes it with a mortar and a pestle and just hand grinds it down while he's watching TV for hours, and makes it real smooth that way. Hey, Brian, what's up?
There was an older guy from England that has videos of him making it by hand with that grinder and stuff. I forgot his name. It's
hardcore. So, Brian, what all the flavors are you offering these days? What sells good?
Lemon is one of our favorites. Classic creamed honey, always. Cinnamon. We do like seasonal ones as well. Yep, there's our plain creamed honey. So like in the summer, we'll do like a blueberry, raspberry. We have like a peach harvest here in Colorado. So we do a peach creamed honey when it's peach season. We do an apple pie. I live in Lakewood, Colorado, and we have a harvest festival that's called Cider Days, and it's all apple themed. So we do an apple pie.
I bet that tastes good.
Yeah, it's like apple pie in a jar, Brad.
I'd love to have that.
Yep. So it's like cinnamon, but it's got apple in it, and then clove and nutmeg and vanilla, all the spices you'll put in apple pie. I do a lemon ginger for the flu season, which is like our lemon, but you just add ginger to it, and it gives it a nice little kick. And then towards the holidays, we'll do like the cacao. Sometimes I'll do an espresso creamed honey. We've gotten to the point where we've done enough experimenting that we've kind of dialed in our different recipes. Right now I have a vanilla cheesecake. That's pretty darn good.
When is the flavor worked into the cream honey? Is it in the creamer, or is it before, or
different people do it different times? Talking to Kevin Monfelt, he puts his flavors into his liquid honey, and then he adds his creamed honey into that and mixes it that way. Oftentimes I do the reverse, especially if it's a powder I'm adding. I'll have a big batch of creamed honey. Like I have the Lysin creamer right behind me. And then I'll batch off like 4.5 gallons into a bucket and then I'll add my powdered ingredient into that and mix it in. Now, sometimes I'll do an infusion, and I'll infuse something into a liquid honey first, and then filter whatever that is out of it, and then cream that. So there are times where I add the flavor first. So you can do either one, Brad.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We
I've
would,
never creamed honey. I was very interested in getting into it, but I've never tried it.
Yeah, I can imagine how it would be hard in the South to keep creamed honey. Like we fight the temperature all summer long at market. So now I have the last markets I have of the season are tomorrow and Sunday, and it's going to be like 65, 70 degrees. So my table's going to be full of creamed honey,
Perfect.
right? I
Yeah.
can't do that in August, but
right.
you
Yeah.
bet that's what tomorrow is going to look like.
Yeah. Even I fight heat in the summer with the creamed honey. You just have to be careful.
And
Like
all
room
the-
temperature is just about a max.
Yeah. So
For that
we try
stuff.
to do more infused honeys during the summer and still have creamed honeys, but less of them on the table. We'll have hot honey. We'll have other infusions as well.
That's
You
kind of
know,
funny.
I just wanted to mention flavored honeys are great. But I just want to make the point too that for somebody who's never creamed honey and maybe never even tasted creamed honey, just plain creamed honey, that's a different flavor experience than liquid honey.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
creaming
No,
it changes texture, it changes color, and actually the taste
I
experience
bought a
is
little jar
very
of
different.
cream at the show last year, and I brought it home, and she liked it, and I liked it too. But I've never tasted a flavored one. That's why I wanted to see about maybe making my
Yeah.
own.
And Brad, that's one of my favorite things to do at markets is have that customer who doesn't know what creamed honey is taste my raw honey
Yep.
and then taste the creamed honey, no different ingredients. And I go through my spiel
Yep.
as I'm getting it ready and I hand them the stick, So, and then the flavor profile, and this is what I say, the texture change impacts that flavor profile. So you get that smooth and velvety texture experience that changes your sweetness on your palate for sure. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
they taste it and they're like, "Oh yeah," and you're talking
Mhm.
it up as they're having this experience, and and then they buy the creamed honey jar because of that conversation. But we do so much educating. I couldn't sell, and I've told you guys this before. I couldn't sell a fraction of the creamed honey that I do if I wasn't going to markets and educating my customers because so many of them don't know what creamed honey is. And then we're educating them on like, what can I do with this creamed honey? What can I do with that creamed honey? Sometimes we're getting feedback from our customers about how they use our honeys, and then we're pushing those ideas back on other people who are buying that particular flavor.
So let me ask this question because I've seen with liquid hot honeys, but I've never seen a hot creamed honey. Is there a reason for this?
I don't know. I've tried it once and it worked okay, but
Maybe people just want to be able to pour the hot out is more than likely.
yeah, I think that's right. When they're using the hot honey, it's more for putting it on food and it works better in that liquid form. That'd be my guess.
Like, I'm not a spicy person, but I finally basically, I get all this feedback from people saying, "Oh man, this is amazing." I'm not really a spicy person, but I'm like, all right, I've got to try some of these hot honeys. And of course, a lot of you guys like Brian, creamed honey Brian, and I think I've had some of actually Brian with Castle Hives honey too. Many of you guys have given me some of your honey, and that's where I've kind of like, I've got this hot honey or I've got this flavor of creamed honey, man, I've got to try this, and then that's where, because I'm one of those guys that I eat Lay's potato chips, salt only, the end. I like basic stuff, and what I like, and I don't adventure. Vanilla, chocolate, strawberry. If I'm feeling adventurous, ice cream. That's like as far as I go. I don't really like all the flavored stuff. So it's been really an interesting adventure for me because all these honeys and creamed honeys people have given me have really broadened my mind. Because now I can't have any of Laurel's fried chicken or
Chicken.
any
You betcha.
chicken in general without this hot honey. I just cannot live without it. And of course, on the creamed honey, I've got to try so many good ones. It's really hard to say which one's my favorite because I've had some from Canada that was a cranberry orange that was just amazing. I love cinnamon. I mean, cinnamon creamed honey is just, I'll eat it with anything. And then out of Texas, there's a family that does a chocolate orange, and it tastes like a chocolate orange candy, like you take the foil wrapper off of. And
I had some from Kevin Monfeld that tasted like that. Is that the one you mean?
the
Bee
chocolate
Bump?
orange.
Yeah. He
I only
makes it as a twisted honey in his container.
I had his lemon and one other, but I haven't had his chocolate one. This one came out
Okay.
of Texas.
Okay.
But
It's
Kevin
really
had
good.
good stuff. But ultimately, it's just this is a game changer, I think, for the bee industry. I'm talking to people that are on my staff. One of them is Josh in Nashville, and then one of them is, oh goodness, I can't remember their name, but it'll come to me later. But they go to these fairs, and like Brian's saying, there's a lot of education along with it. But they're getting these teenagers into honey, and it's not that they don't like the liquid, but they're more interested in trying chocolate orange or blueberry something or other versus that. And they'll have little, they'll have a toaster, they'll toast some bread, and they'll cut it up into sections, and then you put like a little bit of lemon, put a little bit of cinnamon, and that's the education. And the cool thing is that education, if they have a positive experience, that stuck in their brain. And now we might not have got them into the industry or buying from the industry with liquid honey, but that creamed honey's doing it. I think the creamed honey is the ticket for getting more people interested in supporting beekeepers and possibly turning some of those young people into beekeepers in the future. So more creamed honey. We need to have a talk at the Bee Expo about it. I'm thinking maybe even a panel, maybe get like 3 different people who creamed honey and sit down and just discuss different flavors and various logistics behind it.
And that's that's a point I can never avoid making, this idea that creamed honey is flavored, and this idea that flavored honey is creamed. It's not true. Creamed honey is an entity of it unto itself. Flavored honey is an entity of itself. You can have, just like your hot honey, you can have liquid flavored honey, you can have cream flavored honey, you can have creamed honey that's not flavored, you can have liquid honey that's not flavored. The two are not synonymous. So that's just something, if somebody's going to, like, especially have a workshop or teach on this, try to not get people thinking that creamed honey is flavored honey. You can do both, and creamed honey is delicious all by itself.
Yeah, there's tons.
Right? Yes, you're exactly right, Brian. And bourbon barrel honey too now apparently. And
sounds like you've had a little too much of that bourbon.
If this was real hooch, I'd be in big trouble. Or throw me out of the house. Yeah. But I will say I do enjoy bourbon barrel honey. I haven't figured out a way how to like eat it though. Like with cinnamon, I throw that on bagels, I throw it on bread, I throw it on all kinds of stuff. I don't know how to eat this besides like sipping it or taking a spoonful or something. Now I will say I had some bourbon maple syrup. And while bourbon and honey goes good, the bourbon maple syrup is like something that the angels brought down and delivered. Man, it is unbelievable. I thought it wouldn't be that good. I don't know if I ever want to have pancakes again without that stuff. It is stellar. You got to try it.
I had pancakes today with that. So good.
Yeah, it's just, some things just match so well. This is really thick. One of the funny things, I've been given a lot of a bourbon barrel honey from different people, and they've all been good. But some of them where they've had too much alcohol, I guess, still in the barrel, or maybe they didn't dehydrate their honey enough. The honey actually gets runny. It gets too high of a moisture content from the liquid that's in the barrel.
I did a batch of the bourbon barrel honey, and
that's really good, Tom and Melissa.
It was like a 9-month process.
9 months.
Well,
it's like having a baby.
Soaking it in that barrel.
That's because he kept eating it all.
And that's why Cam and I like the idea of doing a panel for like creamed and infused honeys, because you're going to get so many different styles of how people go about their recipes. Even just having those people kind of talk back and forth about their different methods is going to allow the audience to soak so much up, because that's when it really starts to get into an art form. And there's different ways to highlight honey. Look at someone like Philip, who RTX, who highlights the different locations and the flavor profiles of honey, and that's a really good way to highlight the specialty and the specialness of honey. And I think with creamed and infused honeys, you're highlighting the specialness of it as well. You're just helping people think about how they can use it in a kitchen a little bit more. You know, we encourage people to cook with honey. We're just starting that process a little bit and kind of helping them along the way with some of our ingredients and our recipes.
Yeah, and it's not like the honey loses health benefits either.
Right.
So you're still, if you're going to have a sweetener, obviously honey is the choice. You know, maple syrup's a close second, and sorghum's a poor man's honey, but let's not go there. One of the guys on my staff, David McDade, he just likes country folks and beekeepers, and so he's helped at our expo and the prior conference probably 4 years, and I finally got him into bees this year. And he said, It's like, Cayman, I want to buy a few nukes from you. I'm like, how many you want? It's like 3. I'm like, that's a pretty good number to start. We'll set you up with 3 good nukes. And that was his payment for helping me with the expo. Well, then he gets out there. He's like, you know what? I think I want 6. I'm like, well, that's a lot for a first-time beekeeper. He's like, well, one of my buddies says he's going to help me. Turns out his buddy decided not to. So he's got 6. Then he goes and gets on a list and he starts catching swarms. He's up to like 18 hives right now. And he's neck deep in it. But how the story started was he's grown sorghum. Him and his brother and his dad, they I think crop about 2,000 acres in West Tennessee. They do early canola. They do, of course, the corns and the soybeans and stuff like that. But he raises sorghum, and he sold sorghum for years. And he's been sabotaging my conference. And some people that will buy merch at our merch booth, he'll be there, and he'll be like, "Are you sure you want some of Cayman's honey?" "Yeah, it's okay, but sorghum's the really good stuff." "Oh, you know about sorghum?" He'll like open his coat and he'll be peddling sorghum in my booth. So it's great. But now we've got him as a beekeeper, and it's kind of funny. But no, it's a health food product, and maybe that's something I want to look into, is having that panel, because that's where we have these interesting comments and discussions, and like people are saying, well, I use bourbon barrel on vanilla ice cream. That actually does sound like a pretty good pairing.
Yeah.
Of course, vanilla ice cream sounds really good right now. Darn it.
What does ice cream not make better? Right?
That's right. Have you guys ever made homemade honey ice cream before?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's amazing. Of course, Laurel's got the ability. Anything that she cooks is just like perfect. I don't know how she's done it. She made a deal with the devil.
That's how a good husband talks.
Well,
right
honestly, I'm actually being honest. It really is stellar.
You can tell from the back straps on his
See?
back.
Fully indoctrinated too.
Fully indoctrinated. So to give the 1 minute version, when one of my buddies was interested in dating one of Laurel's sisters, I hadn't got out a whole lot because I was homeschooled, and I didn't care to get a driver's license either. And I was doing bees and I was doing ag, and I was fine with that. So I just didn't get out. So my buddy says, "Hey, you want to go out towards Knoxville? I'm going to go visit this family and whatever." He's like, "There's this girl I'm interested in dating." I'm like, "Sure, whatever, John, let's go. I need something to do." And so we go. And Laurel, we had chatted a little bit, just briefly through a forum, kind of like B-Source, but for homeschoolers. And apparently she thought that I was a lot more interesting than I really am, because that's social media. You basically,
What a letdown.
yeah. You share all of your what you'd like to be, and then what you really are is something else. And
Taller too, I'd imagine.
oh yeah, I was 6'2". And that's but all jokes aside, she knew I was coming. Apparently she liked the idea of beekeeping and all the farming. Of course, Laurel did blacksmithing and stuff, so it really was a match made in heaven. But I show up, there's fried chicken, there's fried venison, There's green beans. There's homemade mashed potato with so much butter that it'd stop your heart.
That sounds good.
There was, oh yeah, it was truly
Oh, yeah.
amazing. And I realized in that moment, Cayman, how many girls this day and age can cook like that? None, hardly. And so I'm like, we've got to figure this
This
one
many.
out.
This many.
This many. And so she really just likes to cook. And so, of course, whenever she says, hey, I need this tool in the kitchen, I'm just like, take it. Which, of course, Laurel manages the accounts, so I have no idea where the money goes anyways. She's really good with that. So basically, once people start learning more about Laurel and me, they start realizing that what do I do? You know, it's like Laurel does all the real stuff. So, but yeah, fried chicken, 10:37, Charlie.
Well, it's 11:37 here. I want to go ahead and shut down the chat. I mean,
Charlie's turning into a pumpkin.
I was going to say Charlie's going to turn
we're
into
about
a
an hour and a half longer than what we normally done, but
It's a great
everybody
pumpkin.
had a
over
good time, and the people in the chat, I'm sure, had a good time listening to us all. And everybody in the chat can, or in the room here, can stay in the green room. So I'm going to go ahead and shut the chat down, and then we can.
Hey, everybody in the chat, thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for coming out, everyone. And like I say, everybody can stay in the video part of it.